All right, and we're on.
How are you, brother?
I'm good. I'm
Sorry,
good.
bro.
No, I'm good. I'm good. So I'm here with Jack Alexander. Now you've actually got other surnames too.
Yeah.
So the full name is Jack Alexander
No, keep it. No, Jack Alexander Norman-Pottinger.
Norman-Pottinger.
Yeah, it's a long one.
Yeah, and so when you told me, I was like, what the hell? Like, how come you got so many names? And then, so in your heritage, what have you got in that background there?
Like Icelandic, mum's from New Zealand. I've got a bunch of European stuff as well. But mum's born in Auckland, Onehunga, mostly Pākehā.
Yep.
There's a little bit of space in there,
Yep.
you know, some Māori, but mostly I don't know where. I think mum's also from Iceland,
Okay.
Viking territory.
Yeah.
Is this good?
Yeah, that's better. That's
Sweet.
better. Yeah. So, well, you know, you've got this that sort of Viking look. You're a big boy, right? You got these piercing eyes.
Thank you, sir.
So, okay. So for people that don't know, so how Jack and I met is through where we train MMA at. Yep. So I'm repping the gear today.
The gang.
All right. And so you know, Jack trains with Coach Renato, and I'm there occasionally. I'll try and get there more often, but it just depends on the week.
Yeah.
And Jack and I were having a bit of a conversation with like, oh, you know, come and do a podcast, and it'd be interesting. So.
Oh yeah.
So you're okay.
We'll try to skate that line, brother.
We're going to skate that line today. We're going to go deep and pull it back a little bit and go deep again.
Yeah.
But for, I guess, so people that get to understand a bit more about you. So you're about to make your pro debut in MMA as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Canberra, 23rd of July. So exactly a month from now.
Exactly a month from now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, so aside from obviously, you know, MMA, you also got a bit of a business doing what, health and fitness, right?
Always. I've been doing it since I was 16, man. So
16.
Yeah, I left school in year 10.
Yep.
I was a drama student, and I was at a performing arts school, but it wasn't what I thought it would be. You know what I mean? If anything, good.
Yeah.
The teachers, it was nuts. Actually, my experience was nuts. Like teachers would run me down in the classroom when I wasn't there. Like, oh, Jack isn't tough. He acts like a big tough guy, but he's just an insecure little boy. And it's like, now that I'm older and now that I'm their age, I'm like, bro, you're talking about a child.
Yeah.
That's someone that I would just try to rear if I saw that kind of stuff. So it's interesting hindsight, but I left in year 10, got my cert 3 and 4, and then trained my TAFE teacher. Yeah, my first client was my TAFE teacher, Jill from TAFE Petersham. And then I've been doing that since I was about 12 years now. You know?
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's pull it all back. So where did you grow up?
Exactly. Paddington Hospital.
Yep.
And then we lived in Darlington. Darlington, Dad lives in the smallest house in Sydney, Flex. It's this little place. I don't know if it's still there. It was in Enmore, right in Newtown, because I grew up in the inner west.
Yep.
And it's literally like a little miniature house in between two single stories. It's this tiny little shack, and apparently we grew up there, and you know, he used to steal firewood and stuff like that, and he kind of rose up the ranks as a journo.
Yep.
You know, that was my dad. And then,
so he's a journalist.
Yeah, he's a journalist, man.
Like a writing journalist or a media journalist?
Writing journalist, and he's moved into, I believe, like advertising for cars. But he grew up in the Blue Mountains, so he really worked his way up the old school way, I guess. He wasn't university educated, but he was, you know, on cadet wages as a journo, which is, we can swear, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Fuck all.
What I'll do, I'll just adjust this up for you too.
Yeah, man. Do you edit in between? No, cool.
I like the conversations raw. So.
Yeah, good.
So so for me, you know, when I do this, I typically, you know, upload the conversation in full. One of the things I need to get actually better at is marketing, because I don't market the podcast at all. But it still seems to find its home. Like there's people that are listening to it, at least from the stats that I can see. But I don't really, you know, worry too much about it. Like I think at the end of the day, you know, to be undeniable at anything, it's all about body of work, right? Because then when people go back and, like, this will be episode 61, I think.
Got a bunch.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know, when you get to a certain point, it's like, you know, the body of work is there, right? And then and I sort of have this, I sort of feel like, you know, like all these authors and artists that we admire, a lot of the times it's after they passed away that, you know, you really identify what their legacy was.
Give me my flowers now.
Yeah, but like, you know, for me, it's like I never really thought about legacy for anything that I do, because the idea of legacy is sort of redundant because you're dead.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
What does it matter to you?
Yeah.
Right.
I thought you were going to go with the more like legacies for like LeBron James types, you know, because I always felt like I didn't feel big enough to be talking about legacy and stuff like that.
No.
Maybe that's my misperception.
But see, this is the thing. It's always about, so, you know, I think legacy is more about the how you impact people's lives, right? No. And yes, of course, you know, those famous names have impacted a lot of lives, but I think you can't discount the people in your own life that have had a lasting impression on you.
For sure. Even if it was one person, that's still a legacy. That's still your legacy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I do get that.
And so, I always talk about my mate Age, and he's part of the reason why I started this podcast. And I guess, you know, that's part of his legacy is that, you know, in him being one of my best mates in high school, and then, you know, having his struggles with mental health and mental illness, and then, you know, him passing away, that has left a lasting impression on me in terms of how I view things in the world and why I do some of the things that I do.
When did he pass away?
So that was 2019, and it was just after Easter.
So recently.
So, yeah, so, you know, we were having dinner. So one of my other high school mates, Ivan, his family, my family, and Age came out that night, and everything just seemed like normal, you know, like with your high school mates. For me anyway, it was always like I could not see them for a year, 2 years, and you catch up and it just feels like old times, right?
So it was you and the boys?
Yeah.
Right.
And so we were there, you know, having a good time, had barbecue, you know, some drinks. Everything seemed okay. You know, we were talking about travel, Age was talking about some of his travel plans and things like that. And then 5 days later, you know, I get this phone call, and they told me, you know, he jumped in front of a train.
Oh man, that's the one that came up in conversation. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's not a cry for help like we were talking about.
That's one of those ones where, you know, there is no coming back from that.
Yeah.
Right. And like, you know, he had previously tried, you know, a few years before to take his own life, and I guess that one was a bit more like a cry for help because, you know, the way he did it was he. I think he tried to do it with, like, you know, overdosing on Panadol or something.
Oh, yeah.
And then so, you know, he got his stomach pumped and all that, and he was in ICU. And like that was already heartbreaking for me, you know, like when I went there and saw him, like I burst into tears I saw him. That's nice because I was like, you know, you have this image of what a person is, right?
Proud, strong.
Yeah. And so like I also had that actually happened to me earlier in my life as well with my mum. Because my mum, like my mum had some mental health issues.
Yeah.
And she went overseas and she wouldn't come back. Like she just...
How old were you?
So this is when I basically, at the end of high school, I think it would have been after like maybe like 1 or 2 years out of high school, right? And then what happened was...
You got some crazy parallels, bro. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, well, we'll get into yours.
No, don't worry about it.
Yeah, cool. But so when she came back, the only reason she came back was she had nowhere else to live. Like her sister had kicked her out.
Out of necessity.
She was living on the streets of Singapore for a couple of weeks before she finally decided to come back. And when she left, she had 2 suitcases full of all her belongings. Came back with just the clothes on her back, and she was like very tanned because she'd been living on the streets, very skinny, and you know when you see this person that's like a shell of who you remember they were, it broke me. Like I just cried, you know. Of
course, man.
And then it's like you want to try and do anything you possibly can to help that person.
And what was her temperament like towards you?
It's one of those things. I think, you know, when it comes to like mental health and things like that, like what the person sees is probably very real to them, right? And so from the opposite side of things, like what we interpret that, we go, okay, that doesn't seem right. You know, or some people have like certain mannerisms, right? So if you think about somebody who might be like obsessive compulsive and they like to wash their hands, or they don't like to step on certain things. Like everybody has some traits that are like that, right? Like, you know, like people are averse to touching dirty things, right?
I was
like
an OCD motherfucker as a kid, bro.
Yeah,
I was scooping air out of drawers, invisible air, so that the fucking drawers didn't suffocate or something.
Whoa.
It was nuts, bro. Yeah. Anyway.
All right, well, I'm going to ask you more.
Your mum's temperament and mental health, perspective.
So it was one of those things where it's like you can look at the person, but then whether it's like they can't look at you in the eye or they can't establish an emotional connection. And it's like you can see that the lights are on and things are turning, but there's a barrier there for us to connect.
I felt that many times, people.
Yeah. And so, like, you know, you try everything. Like I tried the emotional aspect, you know, acting out of emotion and trying to plead with her to, you know,
like, please, mom, I love you. Like, what's wrong?
Like that kind of thing. And but you don't establish any connection. You know, I remember I wrote her like a letter about how hurt I was about everything that was happening. And it was like nothing. You get nothing.
Yeah.
And I don't. There's no blame there for her, because I don't blame her for that. But it's just obviously her filters and lenses of how she's viewing the world are different or broken at that point in time, right?
Totally.
And so then the whole point behind, you know, trying to get them help is that you want them to find, you know, the lenses that they can use again to actually establish emotional connection and establish those sorts of connections with other people and with the world and how they see things. So it's like we've just gone on this massive tangent.
No, it's awesome, bro. Tangential thinking is where it's at.
So tell me more about your childhood, right?
I will, man. I'll jump into the parallel though, because I love my mum massively, but she's you know, she's a super intelligent person, and I feel like I am my mother's son most of all. You know what I mean? Many blessings I feel that she's given me, but in a similar way, mum went through stuff when she was younger, so I think that it led her lens, as you said, to become a little bit corrupted as far as men. You know what I mean? So then when I came of age and I started hitting puberty and I was like 15, 16, I was, you know, she was calling me up screaming, crying for rent. Like, you know, my parents split up since I was 16 months. I was obviously an accident baby. You know? And they split up like shortly after. And I don't remember a time without step parents, or at least my stepdad. He was very central in my life. He was from New Zealand as well. And so I grew up doing 3 days, 7 days. Every 3 days you go to my mum and stepdad's. Or every 7 days, 3 days, go to my stepmom and dad's. And I've got a little sister on both ends since I'm 10. I'm a lot older than them. So, man, my mum was always very like emotionally absent, but I didn't realize until later. So I know what that's like, because nothing's going to hit your self-esteem more than your mum doesn't want you in the house. You know what I'm saying? Or both houses don't want you. And the school doesn't want you. Because you're too boisterous, or you do this, and you're not even a fucking bad kid, bro. You know, it's not like you're
still trying to find your place in the world, right?
Totally, and you're doing it with loyalty to your parents. So like, I'd be sticking up for my mum half the time against my stepmom, who'd be calling her a stupid whore, and I'd be like saying, "Don't mention my fucking mum," and I'd be like 11 or 12, and that would create more of a gap between me and my stepmom. And then you see firsthand, you know, a weak man's imitation of parenting, and I say that with all due respect, you know, as someone who doesn't have a son, but there's just certain things. I was like my dad's father in a way. I was like his big brother, but basically you get to see your own relationship with your dad get corrupted because of the manipulative actions and insecurity of, say, a stepmom, who herself is so insecure that she feels she's competing with, you know, me, who was a kid at the time. So you see so many of these things, and it makes you very, very, very switched on, very young. But then I think I figured out later, there's so many areas as well that you probably get underdeveloped. You know, emotionally, I guess, but I only just figured that out now talking about it, the difference between I had high degrees of emotional intelligence and I'll be able to read people, but there's certain elements where I'm like, I guess triggered stronger. I have my passion, or even at times my mana, like that emotion. Maybe there's an element of addiction. And I've got friends of mine who are more impulsive than me. Shout out to my brother Keanu. He'd be a good guest too, man, one day. He's doing his drill thing at the moment. But he just did like 5 years for armed robberies, and we grew up in the same area. Same kind of time period. Both went to Newtown. Both I think he got kicked out. But as far as impulsivity, he would talk about the addictive aspect of rage, and I just think I wonder how much of my makeup is based on these events when I was younger. Because in a way I believe that, like, have you seen Split?
No.
With James McAvoy?
No, I don't think I've seen that.
And you got to watch that one. It's crazy. The one where he's a beast and he's like got 23 different personalities or whatever it is.
Oh, okay,
There's this crazy scene at the end when he sees the scar on the girl's back, and he was hunting, trying to kill her, and he sees that she's been scarred, and he's like, rejoice, rejoice. The broken are the more evolved. And he just leaves her like shook. And they actually had a bond from that moment, and it was beautiful because it was almost on a metaphorical level. You know, you become... I was scared of werewolves, and then I feel like I became a werewolf, you know? So like the growth and evolution, I wouldn't take shit back. Whenever I'm talking about my childhood and I say, oh, you know, I was in boarding houses, I was homeless for a couple of days, split up all over different time periods, you know, like it got rough. I wouldn't take anything back, you know, because my journey to be here is...
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm so grateful.
Yeah, I always say that too, you know, some like people always love to say, oh, if you go back in time and change anything, what would you do? And I'd say, I just make the same mistakes, but make them faster. So you can learn from them quicker, right?
Yeah, sure.
Because, you know, there's, I think there's an element that you need to experience some things for yourself. And there's other times where then you can learn from other people's stories and lessons to then go and say, okay, well, I don't need to make that mistake. So, it's like the adage of, when kids like to play with fire. I love to play with fire as a kid, right?
Me too.
With matches.
Some shit on fire.
Smoking matches and things like that, doing stupid shit like that, right? But then it's like, you gotta burn yourself to realize that, hey, if you're gonna play with these things, things could go very seriously wrong, right? And it's not until you burnt yourself with a matchstick that you go, oh, okay, maybe I shouldn't touch the burning wood.
What about if you're getting burnt and you're still a kid though? You know what I mean? What about if you're those people out there who get badly abused by their parents? Or my heart bleeds for this, bro. I got broken down in tears the other day. I was listening to a Catholic female preacher, and she was talking about this young girl who was like 5 years old. I think it was from a Slavic area or something, but she was so heavily abused by her parents for nothing, and she, I won't even go into details too much and dampen everyone's day, but she ended up dying, thumping her chest, moaning because her face and mouth, nose had been smeared with her own excrement. So she was like moaning and thumping her chest because she couldn't breathe. And I heard this in the street, and it ruined me, man. Like I was fucked for like 2 days. I actually don't know what happened to this day, but it just killed me because I pictured, weirdly enough, you can see a photo over there, my little sister, me holding her. I pictured my little sister, one of my little sisters, not that I wouldn't picture the other, but just because it was from a Slavic area, the blue eyes or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I pictured my ex-girlfriend, weirdly, who had baby pictures, really cute baby pictures, and they were just so strong in my mind. And I think this is what happens when you're connected, bro. Your empathy is connected to certain things. You start feeling, and then you realize like how little people feel. Then you start seeing the power in emotions. If they're used correctly, it can donate itself to a righteous anger. But I've got to make sure I don't go too far over, because obviously that's my cross to bear, so to speak, is maybe self-righteousness, like morally, you know what I mean? I've done so many things that are moral, like I've had no fear because I've seen, guys are getting jumped, so I'll start smoking the people who are jumping this guy. Because I see them stomping on old mate's head. I got stomped out when I was like 14, narrowly escaped that one after my first ever street fight. As soon as I dropped this guy who wanted to fight me, I was like, bum, 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 punches in the back of their head, bottles, everything. And I narrowly escaped. And I remember running past mum's house being like, "Nyeh." Like I was knocking on everyone's door being like, please help, fucking blood everywhere. Like 20 people running through the street. One kid come up to me. This is just like I was like 15. He goes, Jack, bro, you're sweet. And I'm like, yeah, you're sweet. Boom, dog shot. Oof. Like,
he dog shotted you?
After seeing if I was sweet. Shout out to whatever the fuck your name is. I forgot.
Oh, no way. So he comes up to you and goes,
I'm already fucked.
Jack, are you right? And then he dog shots you.
Yeah, those.
So and you thought he was a mate.
Yeah, but I knew he was their gang, but because I play footy with the local boys, you know what I mean? But I was still going to performing arts, so I had my foot in both, But then they all came to the party, and he wanted to fight me because who even cares? But anyway, the way it ended, I ran right past my mum's house, and I remember thinking like, nah, I don't want to. I just pictured mum going, what are you doing? And then maybe getting a bottle in the face or something, So I skipped mum's, and then I got thrown in an ambo and narrowly escaped. Flash forward to when I'm working in King's Cross, and I'm like 18, 19. I see people getting stomped out, and there's varying degrees. I understand you get your ass whooped sometimes, but there's prolonged like weak men just pussy shit where like someone's about to be unconscious and you're just gonna
they keep going
stomping on your head. It's like nah, can't have that, So that's what I mean. I would charge into situations with this kind of righteous anger, So I feel like it's a good thing to have, but then also it can get you in trouble too. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a crazy thing to make up all this stuff we went through. Bro, relationship with your mum now, what's it like?
It's good.
Really?
It's good. Like, it was very tough for a long period. We had to get her checked into hospital. And
recently?
over the period of years, right? Yeah. So, and it was one of those things where, as a son, I used to worry a lot about, is she going to hate me for this?
For what?
For putting in hospital, because from her perspective, nothing.
To stay there?
Yeah, because from her perspective, nothing is wrong. Yeah. So with the way the public health system works is that when somebody needs to go to mental health hospital, there are two ways. It's a voluntary check-in or it's an involuntary check-in.
I've been to one.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Did you go at Concord?
No, she was at Cumberland.
Oh, Cumberland.
Yeah. So that's like Westmead.
Near the graveyard, isn't it?
I don't know.
That's the Sydney Uni campus right there, I think.
Yeah, well, it's pretty much right next to Westmead Hospital.
Rookwood
around that
Cemetery as well, I think.
No, Rookwood's Lidcombe. That's Lidcombe.
Oh, I'm shipping. All right.
So you know, there's only two ways that somebody goes into one of those facilities: either voluntary check-in or involuntary.
Yeah.
And then for my mum, and I think this applies to any ethnic style of parent or you know, like a migrant parent mentality, is that there's a lot of pride there, right? So you don't want to admit that something is wrong. So the voluntary option, even though if you go in voluntarily, you can also come out voluntarily, that was off the table. And so then it's about proving, okay, is this person a risk to themselves? Is this person a risk to other people? And that's why they need to go in involuntarily. And so, and that was also an experience. Like, I don't know if a lot of people probably have never had that experience of going to one of those places.
Or just seeing their mum in that state anyway.
Yeah, and when I went there, you know, you see people with all sorts of issues, and some are worse, like significantly worse, and some, you know, probably not as bad. But you see the whole gambit, and you start to question, did I make the right choice? You know, is this the right place for her to be getting the help that she needed? And then you talk to the doctors and you try and identify, you know, what are some of the things we can do. And one of the things, like for me, that forced me to actually do a lot of my own research, right? Because the doctors would say, oh, you know, we think it's this. And, you know, the first time she came out, she was better. But
with or without medication?
With medication. Yeah. But it quickly sort of, over a couple of years, just went back down in that downward spiral. And then we worked out that, because, and this is the reason why I bring this up, because I think it's important that people really think about, when it comes to health, it's a very holistic thing, right? So my mum had a thyroid issue when she was younger, and so as a result of that, they killed the thyroid. And so you do a radioactive treatment, it kills the thyroid to reduce the swelling and it's
like nuking the system.
Yeah, right. And so, but when you do that, you need to take iodine supplements because your body no longer produces iodine. So part of the reason I think why she was having those issues is because when she went down her downward spiral, she stopped taking all medication. So that includes her iodine supplements. And so I think that lack of taking the iodine supplement then caused a bit of an imbalance. So
what was it like, bro? Could you explain? Be like, hey, mum, like, look, you need the iodine. Your thyroid can't produce it. Just take this one if you don't want to take the psychological one.
So what happened the first time around? So she was put on medication, but I don't think they picked up on the thyroid issue.
Right.
And at the time, we weren't obviously thinking about the thyroid issue either. So when she came out, she was almost like pretty much back to normal. Wanted to work, wanted to do all these things, and that was great. But then it was like, so what happens when you exit a facility like that? They typically put you on like what they call a CTO, community treatment order. And what that community treatment order then specifies is, what medication you're supposed to take for the next 6 months, and then they have to make a decision whether they need to renew it or it becomes voluntary. And so I think for my mum, again, the pride thing, right? Like, was that, after that period of time,
I don't need this stuff.
I don't need this. Yeah, stopped taking it, went back down, and we went through the whole issues, all those issues again.
That's how it became cyclical.
Yeah, that's how it became cyclical. So the second time around, we then caught on to the fact that I picked up on the fact that she wasn't taking her iodine supplement, so I mentioned that to the doctor, and then we made sure that we got that fixed. And then I felt like that helped as well, because that sort of prolonged the cyclical nature of it. Like, so instead of it being say 2 years, maybe it was like 4 or 5 years the next time. And then, and we're still working on it. Like, I feel like, in moments of heavy emotional toll, that's the danger zone for my mum. So as an example, we've always had German Shepherds, like we've always had dogs.
Nice.
And so we had a dog for the last, 10, 12 years or whatever. And when she passed away, I was like, oh, that's the danger time for my mum, because that emotional toll, she's so invested with the dog, because the dog's the replacement for the kids that are no longer at home.
Right.
And so,
Interesting. Did she have love for the kid? Outward love now?
Yeah, like she can connect now, and she has love for us and things like that. But it's just, I think it's different for a mum, when you're so used to having someone at home or your kids for all these years of your life, that when they're no longer at home, it can be a very hollow feeling. Right?
Interesting. Yeah.
So you're looking for something to replace that.
No, I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so
to me, that's encouraging. That is what I mean.
Yeah,
that's encouraging.
Well, that's what the dog was great for. Is that the dog's there to keep them company. gives them something to do, something to look after as well. So you can invest your energy into that. So, I was a bit worried about her in that period, but then, thankfully, my parents decided we'll go and get another dog.
Yeah.
And then ended up with another German Shepherd.
Nice. And bro. I love those dogs, man.
Yeah. So that, I think that helps her. And I think, from that perspective, like dogs are a great mental health tool. Like they're great for people to establish connections. You even just, maybe she can talk to the dog, even if the dog doesn't respond back. It's about that ability to be able to vent yourself and share your feelings.
I guess when the dog starts talking back, they tell you, hey, the cycle's coming close, bro.
That's right. That's true.
And if you start seeing the dog talking, I don't even know.
That's when you've had too many woohoo.
Yeah, in fact, this guy here is like, I don't know about mental health, bro. He just sheds a lot of fur and makes me vacuum a lot, but he's cute, but I got to get a brush for him.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I want a dog too. I'm going to get a dog.
Yeah. Well, you got the cat at the moment, so the cat's still good.
No, I love cats, man. I grew up with them.
Yep.
Yeah. I was thinking about you, your mum and the German Shepherds and stuff, and I was, my mum did something similar. She got a big golden retriever.
Yep.
Beautiful golden retriever. Oh,
yeah.
Sounds so much louder when I speak like that. Sorry, bro. But yeah, man, I love dogs. All that stuff.
So let's just go back to what your childhood was like, right? If I was to ask you what your earliest memory was, what would that be?
Man, one of them is so personal. I would say that one. Probably one of the first ones is falling down the stairs. I think I was riding that dog, the big Dalmatian, I call it Snowy or something. It was felt like a horse at the time. Yep. I was trying to ride it down the stairs and I just went and ended up at the bottom. I remember that stuff.
Did you have to go to hospital?
No, I was good. I think I was a pretty hard-headed kid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I've got so many memories. It's an interesting question. It's interesting to talk about period, mate, because hearing you talk about so much of your stuff, sorry to go off on a tangent again, is like I see all the parallels. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's so many parallels in regards to, and yeah, you find that a lot with people when you get to talking to them properly.
Yep.
Not like, what do you do? What do you fucking, like, oh God, I listened to some conversations last night and I was like, damn. I was like a high-end fashion thing in Surrey Hills. Yeah. Some of the conversations, especially coming out of corporate, and I say that to say this, I really watched the effect of corporate 9 to 5, fucking, I do this, you might have to go to HR kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just the whole, how to craft an email, how to be passive aggressive, how to not be,
Yeah, it's hollow.
It's bad, man. And I had this kind of incident with one person who was like, okay, you don't have to be rude. And I'm like, I'm not being rude. It's all good. Can you just leave the doors open, please? Thank you. And she's like, you're being really conversational right now. And I laughed. I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah. And I'm like, man, stop. It's all good. And I laugh. And she's like, I'm not feeling safe. She literally said this. I'm not feeling safe. And I was like, oh, dog, it was just too much. And it reminds me of my old man. He used to come home from work just like so bitter. He'd never ask my stepmom like how her day was. And we'd be sitting there at dinner and my little sister would be there and he'd just be, I said to a co-worker today, he said, can you get this done? And I said, no, you fucking can't, or something, some shit that he probably didn't say, you know what I'm saying? And then Anne would be like, that's nice, dear, or something. And I'd just be watching him like, bro, you have no clue about like the family, what, take no pride, take no joy in what your daughter did today at school. I'd always go pick up my little sister from school. As soon as I finish at school at Newtown, I'd go over to Petersham and pick up my little sister Katie and we go down to Petersham swimming pool and I'd just like throw her and like 20 of her mates around, just like powerbomb
in the pool,
shit like that. Because I was, 10 years older and I got to watch all these examples both in corporate. Like that's what I feel like my childhood was, mate. It was like so many lessons. And then when I came of age and I moved out, or even before I came of age, I found so much happiness just waking up in an apartment that was my own and I was free. Yep. I'd be like, it'd be like a sigh of relief, Yep. No more butterflies and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah. Childhood, in short, was very nerve-wracking, mate. I associate it with like a lot of fear,
But what were you afraid of?
Oh, I didn't even know where to even start from. I mean, I've had different events happen, but I don't think these were the catalyst of fear. I've had, events happen and stuff. I've got to go back. I mean, I was in swim squad. I was in dolphin squad and I got like touched up by a kiddie fiddler, by a dude.
No way.
Yeah, mate.
Fuck. You want to tell this story? You got to tell the story. Go.
And I was getting ass fucked. No, I'm joking. There's nothing like that. But I was in the pool and old matey got every other kid out looking into the camera. Yeah. Just getting that intimate. He got every other kid out of the pool and then just taught me this bullshit freestyle swimming thing where I'd like roll the shoulders and his hand would just start, you know, touching my dick and stuff. And
No way.
Yeah. And I
how old were you?
Bro, I was like 11. I think I was like, no, I was like 11 or 12. Yeah. Because I swam a lot when I was a kid. Yeah. And it was at Leichhardt Swimming Pool. Shout out to Leichhardt Swimming Pool. Hashtag Leichhardt.
Hopefully that guy's not there anymore.
No, bro, I'll tell you why he's not there. So I told my stepdad straight away. They went and just spoke to them. This whole thing happened. I remember being in the car back and mum being like, Jack, you might have just caught a criminal. And I was like, really? And she's like, you know, she was like, kind of, I think she was worried that I was excited because I was like, kind of, yeah. Because I knew something was wrong. As soon as I told my stepdad, he kind of ran the ball up. Shout out to Mark, my stepdad. He's the dad of my little sister, Georgette. You know, great dad to her. And yeah, he really ran the ball up, and we went and ended up going to, like, I think it was Surrey Hills Police Station. My dad came down, and he ended up being like a whole American under like a fake swimming license, fake everything. Wow. And they wanted me to go to court, but I would have had to testify on the stand.
Yep.
So instead, he was deported, I believe, but he was deported, but he wasn't actually charged with anything. No criminal charges. Yeah, now you see
that's
the
fucked up. Brother,
you see the Cain Velasquez incident. You see many incidents like this where pedophiles walk free, but the guys who exact justice on them, they're in trouble, bro. And it's like, it sounds crazy, but I really do believe there's a burgeoning kind of pedophilic agenda, you know?
Yeah. So when all that happened, so you pretty much, so he only did it to you once.
It was the only time the cop station treated me nice. I got to play Nintendo or whatever the fuck. My subsequent visits were not the same. There was no beanbag, there was no PS4, whatever it was, a PS2 at the time.
So what do you remember thinking in that moment? Like, did you think anything of it at the time, or was it just like, oh, this is fucking weird?
Facts. That's how it is. Yeah. And I've had other things. I remember being in the bathroom at Darlington. I was one of like a few. There weren't many. Sorry, man. I got you.
That's right.
There weren't many white boys at the first school I went to, which was Darlington Public, mostly a Koori school, and it was like kind of combined grades. So it'd be like kindy to year 1, 2, 3. I remember running into class one time, and this massive kid looked like Rikishi or something. Just, you remember Rikishi from WWE? He just body shotted me like in front of the teacher, and the teacher was kind of looking and just went and like looked away. I was like crumpled on the ground. I was just running into class, and he just goes crank and just rips me to the body. But I remember so many funny things at that school, bro. I had the other kid, Julian, at that school, Darlington, was like the rival white kid, and we fucking had what felt like a fight to the death in the sandpit in like a lunch break. Yeah, we were walking around. I remember, it's funny, you remember these things, and man, like some of the fights we had, bro. I've got some crazy memories where. Yeah, like him trying to rake my eyes and me just holding him down by the chin and stuff. And like, you know, bro, I've had some little fights when I was a kid where I swear I might be like a superhuman. I've done some shit where I'm like, am I like delusional, or did that really happen? Like, I grabbed one kid by his collar, like a kangaroo, with my feet on his hips, rolled back and like flipped him over me. Yeah. Crazy stuff. I'm like, wish I could do that in fights now.
You could pull out all stops, right? Like, I remember I actually fought with one of my mates. I don't know why, like, we're actually best mates, and then for some reason we got into a blue, and like, you know, I think I had him by the hair, and I was like almost like hammer throwing him. Like, it was like a swinging him by his hair.
Bro, that happened to me. This kid, Adrian, I remember what the school was. It was at Wyvern School. He bit me on the bicep, and I was literally swinging him round like this, like around and round, while he was hanging on to my... Yeah. I don't know how that works physiologically, because he's hanging on by his teeth like a Disney movie. But then I went and saw Mr. Campbell and Mr. something else, like the principal and the co-principal, and they were just watching me swing this kid round and round. And I know what happened, because when we went back and sat down, he looked at me and he's like, I had a massive bite mark on my bicep, and he's like, he basically said something to the effect of, like, I just watched you swing this kid around. Like, it was nuts. Like, he kind of, it was unbelievable to him as well. Yeah. But yeah, I swear we fight our friends like say. We fight our, you know, other kids who, when you just fight them like a dog.
But I think, you know, that's, you also gain a level of understanding of a person when you fight them.
Fuck yeah.
Right? Like, and I say that, you know, even just talking about my mate Age, like we actually fought in like year 7, you know, we weren't best mates at the start. And I think that was just like a kind of like an alpha thing, right? Like you're trying to establish, he probably didn't like me because I was a cheeky smart ass. And, you know, he was a bit more stoic and, you know, I wouldn't say reserved, but he was also, you know, he's still a big personality as well. And, you know, I was probably a bit more like the outsider to the group at the time, because, you know, a lot of Age and the other guys all went to primary school together. And I came from a different primary school, and, you know, we got into fights. And
what school were?
That was at high school. So that was at Bauckham Hills, and that was a good school too. Like it's a selective school. It was a good school, but it's just the way that it was for us. And then after, I think pretty much the last time I remember we fought was like I was eating a snack, and because he was taunting me or something, I'd dipped the biscuit in the cheese and I flicked it at him.
Some good fellas shit,
right?
yeah.
And it's landed
Fuck out of here.
It's landed and stuck on his shorts, and I started pissing myself laughing. Then he's walked up and punched me in the head, and I didn't react. Right, like I just got punched in the head, and I was just.
That's happened to me too. Actually, I had a mate do that. And you're kind of like, motherfucker.
Yeah, like I didn't react, and then I think that was the last time that we actually ever fought. Like after that, we just became friends for whatever reason. I don't know how, but that was the end of it. Like it was just like he cracked me in the head. Okay, he's got it out of his system. I got him with a snack.
Oh, okay. So that was it.
That was it.
Oh, I thought you were about to fucking
No, we didn't. No, like there was a time when I think we were throwing some chairs at each other, and we got detention for it. But that, like that was the final thing.
Yeah, you had a little sting, and it was that. Yeah, I get it.
And then after that, we became best of mates.
I get it. That's why martial arts is so important. Shout out to MMA FFT.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things like when you're in there fighting with someone, you gain a bit of an understanding into what their psyche is, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people always they ask me because I've trained at lots of different places, and they say to me, how do you like the mindset of different gyms is very different, right? So some places to some people would say, oh, this place is really aggressive, right? But if you actually think about it from what the people in that gym might be thinking, they might be thinking that, hey, this guy's trained before. If I don't show him some respect, right, and take him seriously, then I'm being disrespectful. So you might come in thinking that, oh, I'm going to play around, but then these guys are seriously trying to take your head off, but not in a bad way. Like there's no maliciousness in how you do it. But the point is that I need to show this person some respect.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get.
Right?
Sparring's different, hey, brother. Like I've always found sparring different. I've always had more, not difficulty, but you got to find people that you can move with. Like you know what you just said though, how playing around. To me, the greatest what looks like mastery to me is to be in fights. Guys are trying to knock your fucking head off, and you can still play.
Yeah,
that's all. That's more than knockouts and finishes. Even like that's kind of what I want on my body of work. Like you talked about, even if I have 4 or 5 fights before the world ends. I want to have that. I'm calm in there. Like even my first fight, second fight, like in the cage. I kept saying didn't feel like my first fight. I've been doing this such a long time, and I feel like I've been in incidents. People always go, street fights don't count. Yeah, no, for sure. But these they don't count on the record. But you're having incidents where you're fighting, 1 person, 2 person, and they're not like, these aren't just drunks. Like, you know what I mean? They're people who are, you can get in trouble for even hitting them. You know what I mean? Like, and you're dealing with repercussions afterwards where it's like, fuck these people. These people have, like, as they said, put holes in people. Stop hitting my mates. I put holes in people. That's what I'm getting told. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I'm dealing with repercussions, and I'm just working at the time for $25 an hour on a fucking door, and I'm 18, 19. All the people I know who are my age are coming off a gap year and shit. You know what I mean? I felt like a full blown man, and I'm watching a lot of these blokes roll around with 2 girls on each arm, and they're getting coked up and bashing blokes in the toilet and stuff like that, and then I'm getting told to escort them out, and then one of them says something to me, and I'm just like, "What, cunt? You think I'm gonna fucking cop shit from you? I'm living in a boarding house, bro.
Yeah,
I
got nothing to lose.
Facts. I got nothing to lose. I didn't even you pussy. Your mum probably loves you. You know what I mean? You're probably gonna go to a fucking family dinner on Sunday. Suck my dick, bro.
What kind of an insult is that? Your mum probably loves you.
Facts. That's where my head goes, bro. We use our weaknesses as strength, brother. Not many people can say in both of our circumstances that they've actually dealt with that, where they've looked at and I love my mum. I adore her, and I always will, and I've always stuck up for her. And yeah, God bless my mum. But at the same time, not many people have dealt with like looking, at your mum and thinking like, this isn't normal, bro. There's no love there. And then you immediately question yourself because you're like, that's, and that really makes you have to grow and not take it personally.
Well, this is the thing. It's the adage of hurt people, right?
Yeah.
And, like I think as children, when we're kids, we always look up to our parents and think that, these people have got their lives sorted, right? Because they're the adults. And that's not reality. No. Right? Like there's no handbook that you get given when you become a parent to go and say, hey, this is how you be a good parent. Just like how when you start working, nobody gives you really a handbook to go and say, this is how you be a good manager or a good leader.
True. There is one book, but
no, well, there's plenty of books.
Yeah, and
right?
I was playing with those D-book. Yeah.
But it's one of those things that a lot of people don't actually spend the time to do that work, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, as a parent, you know, you're trying to work out so many of these other things that you often forget that there's this little person that looks up to you, thinks the world of you.
Yeah, I know.
Right? And they don't understand why you might be doing the things that you do.
Bro.
They just think that's the norm. Right?
Yeah.
This is how my parents show me love.
See, that confusion kills me.
Yeah.
What you just said, like, this is what kills me. For some reason, I'll be getting along with my sister or whatever, driving in the car, and like, I told her this, she used to laugh at it. My brain would play an image of me just smacking the shit out of her for some reason. And then the subsequent fear or the confusion, like, why are you doing this? Because like, I've had people like literally try to go like, do it, touch me enough, I can, you know, that kind of stuff. Very different. But someone who loves you and trusts you and looks up to you.
Yeah.
Imagine hurting that. And this is the thing, we're dealing with like people who are broken at a core level. So you can only love someone as much as you love yourself.
Yes.
You know, and when you start treating a little version of you that fucking admires you, that loves you, you start treating them and abusing them in a certain way that's nothing but self-hatred manifesting itself on your child. And I say that to say this, when you mention there's no handbook on parenthood and stuff, that's all true, but I feel like we're heading into an age where there's even less of an emphasis on Judeo-Christian principles. And the same, you could say the same thing for Muslims and stuff as well, because there's something there, and people love to connotate a religion with many people have died, you know, through the wars, the Crusades, all this kind of stuff. But it's there's so much stuff that I used to believe, because my dad was a hardcore atheist.
Was he?
He had, you know, Chris Hitchens and Richard Dawkins and those cats, very outspoken atheists.
Yep.
He had like God is not great, God is dead books in the bookshelf and all that. He was always very much a, you know, religious people are kind of dumb kind of thing. And until I started seeing, that's way better. Yeah, close. Like fucking before.
Yeah.
Until I started like looking into it again, I realized, like you just said, man, like our parents were not, bro, my dad was 25 when he had me. I'm damn near 5 years older than him.
Yep.
You know, if I were to have a kid now, and I think about it as the highest blessing, but the only reason is you got to have the right partner. I mean, kids, a beautiful thing, but then I worry about it now, and that all mixes in with what I was saying earlier, man, about pedophile stuff and the docs and a lot of these groups that are designed to house children and orphans and all types of stuff. There's so many hard conversations, brother, right now. Like we don't have to get into it now, but even abortions and stuff. Like, you know, I try not to and I've had to be with my first girlfriend when she got that done. I almost said I've got an abortion myself. It obviously wasn't me who got it, but you know, it's super rough and everything. It's super hard, but there's so many like conversations that we don't have because everyone is too scared to have them or too scared to come off as a bigot. Like, you know, I understand pro-body, pro-choice, of course, you know what I mean? The whole rape victim scenario, of course. I mean, how, you know, who am I to tell someone how they should feel about this? Oh, it's wonderful, it's a gift. Who the fuck am I? You know what I mean? I totally understand that, but there's so many inconsistencies and it all seems to fit into a higher picture, and I try not to link it into my emotions from a child. Like, you know, this happened to me, so this is valid. Yeah. Because that's easy. Yeah. You know, we hear about, you know, even little things like rape culture and stuff that kind of permeates through the culture a little bit, you know, and I fucking hate guys wolf whistling and shit. It's very lame. Like, guys who are watching this, you know, fucking, it's not a good look. No girl's going to admire you for going, hey, hey. It's the corniest shit you can do. Yeah. You know, like, I love and respect women, and that's why I always try to tell the truth. And I've had little sisters as well, and I've always been quick to tell them, like, this is a Trojan horse. This is designed to be divisive. This is designed to make you remember the time that a guy did something inappropriate or said something buffoonish, and then you're going to match it in with what you're being told, which is men are, you know, abusers, and most of them are this, most of them are that. And you're going to link it in. Yep. And then once you've created that emotional link, it's going to be so hard to break that paradigm. Yeah. And I've tried to get involved in relationships where, like, I've shown so much, like, love, and I've always been an open book. I always tell everyone everything. And, you know, every partner I've had almost is, you know, said, like, either something along the lines of I love you, or we're still saying I love you in a family sense, you know. But there's a couple there that obviously didn't end that way. And it's so funny how, like, maybe it was a trauma bond thing, but I ended up becoming, in my good intentions, man, I was, you know, come and train, come on, pick up your frequency, like little things like I love you, you know, you're beautiful, your behavior is a bit shit, you know what I mean? I'll say, like, your behavior's a bit shit if you're laying on the couch 3 days straight and kind of on your phone all the time, and then, you know, you're somehow accusing me of making you feel funny, but you're not doing the things necessary that I do every day. Yep. That we all have to do, pick our frequency up and get our shit right, you know? And I'm trying to trying to navigate this, and we were living together at the time, even in my most recent ones. Well, I'm in an apartment that, frankly, like I want to be in a nicer apartment, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's all good, I'm blessed, but like I want to be in a nicer place. I've got a cat over there, you know, for this reason, because left the relationship quickly. But brother, I became fucking like, I don't want to say a monster, but like, it's crazy how your intentions can be so good, and then you're trying to get through to this person and you're seeing actions from them that it's like you're saying, you know, you love me and I'm the father of your kids and all this stuff, but then the reality will switch within the day. And if you make the mistake of tying up your self-worth and self-esteem in this person's, which I was doing, and I don't know if that's some broken home shit, because, you know, mum didn't love me, so if I fucking give it all to this girl, and, you know, and I'm ticking off these boxes, I'm great in bed, I fucking do this, I cuddle like a motherfucker, I'm deep and introspective, you know what I mean? I stay in shape, like I'm on my shit, you know what I mean? I'm a coach or whatever the fuck.
No, but that's what a lot of people do.
And then it fails, they feel like shit, they're fucking done, bro.
So, you know, and even, you know, for you, right, you think about it like this, right? So when you're young, you're bouncing between, you know, the two sides of the parents' relationships, right?
Yep.
And then, but there's always somebody around, right? There's always, you know, there's somebody there, whether you want to use them or not, or whether you want to talk to them or not, there's somebody there. And it's hard to actually spend any time trying to work on yourself, because you're still trying to work out where you fit into this world.
Who's there? Who's somebody there?
Like whether it's, you know, family, whether it's friends, there's always somebody there. Right, and then as we get older, you know, we substitute our family bonds.
Shit.
Yeah, well, like, but you substitute those family bonds, and for you, it would have been your friends more quickly than your parents, right? You would have found, you know, your group of people or people that you wanted to hang around with and associate with, right? And you're trying to find that place, whether it was between rugby or performing arts. Like I know for
definitely
you,
searching for sure.
You're searching, right?
Is this still on, brother? I got this on there.
Yeah,
cool.
100%. And then, you know, when you get older, so a lot of people, like they go into that. So the first stage is that you have your family as your immediate sort of people around you. Then it becomes your friends. And then what happens is, as you get older, then it becomes relationships, right? And so a lot of the times, you know, people...
Codependency.
Yeah, well, like they go and get themselves into these relationships. And you know, I made this mistake. You know, I was in and out of relationships up until, you know, I came to a point where I was like, I need to spend some time alone.
Facts.
I need to work out, you know, who I am. What am I... like, until I'm actually happy with myself, how can I be happy with anyone else, right? And I say that, you know, that's not a slight on any exes and things like that. That's more a slight on me, you know, that I didn't really know what I was about or what I wanted. And so, you know, until you actually get that time to sit there, reflect, stare in the mirror and realize I either fucking hate myself or I actually, you know, do love who I am, right? And for a lot of people, it's I fucking hate myself, right? And then it's really like, common. And then they think, you know, okay, but when I achieve this, maybe I'll be a little bit happier in myself. Yeah, right. We set these goals. We set these material goals. We go, okay, when I achieve this, this is what's going to make me a happier person. And when I achieve this, this is what, you know. We base it on material goals as opposed to actually sitting there and going, well, what is it that I don't like about myself, and why? Like, where did this feeling come from that I'm inadequate? Right. And for some
that's
people,
real work. That's what it looks like. That's actually
real, fucking real work.
Unfortunately, New Age spiritualism and stuff is like all about pushing the negativity to the outside. There's very little onus on like responsibility, humility, or repentance or anything. You know.
So tying it back into what, you know, you were just talking about before. Yeah. The line of thinking that I was actually what came to my mind when you were talking was that when you have like, and I would say we probably live in a world where we're a very free society, right? So we have the freedom to do so many different things.
For now.
Yeah, we have the freedom to attain all this different knowledge, but we don't have structure, right? And so, and this is the problem. Like you think about, when I think about my kids, right?
How many have you got, bro?
I got 3.
Beautiful.
Right?
What are their names?
So Cadence is my oldest.
Cadence?
Yeah, Cadence.
Cool.
Harley, my boy.
Harley, cool.
He's the middle child, and then I got Eden, who's the baby.
Beautiful name.
Right? And so, you know, when I think about them, you can't just go and let your children just go and be free to do whatever they want. They need structure, because without structure, they don't like, you think about a blank canvas. If there's no structure, how do you then try and organize how you view the world?
It's impossible, dude. Right? The structure of the universe, period.
That's it.
To our world, it's all structured. That's
right?
why.
And so part of the problem when we then go and throw away, you know, all these, I guess, traditional rules and things like that, we actually lose a lot of the structure that helps us develop as people.
We lose everything,
right?
I think, yeah.
And then so what happens is that we believe that we gain this sense of entitlement, that because, you know, I'm so free and I have all this freedom that I should be entitled to be able to do this and do that. And it becomes very self-centered, right? It's so self-centric, right? And so, you know, as a result of that, when we make choices, we go, well, what's the choice that benefits me? We don't think about what are the choices that impact other people.
No. And if we do, it's going to be in some virtue signaling bullshit way.
Yeah.
Hashtag support Ukraine.
Yeah. Well, like it's one of those things where, you know, people, they're all happy to jump on the bandwagon and say, you know, I think we should do this and I think we should do that. But then you ask them to personally put their hand up and do something.
I know.
You know, what do they do? They go to water. They say, "Oh, look, I don't have the space to do this, or I can't achieve that." Well, why are you standing up for this cause? Is it just for the sake of standing up? Yeah. Right. Yeah. So whereas, you know, the places where you can have a meaningful impact or a meaningful conversation, you neglect those in favor of of putting something on socials that says, "Oh, you know, this is the in thing." You know, and that's why I like this format, because you know, I can actually talk about real things, right?
There's no hiding in this kind of format too.
Yeah,
it's just a convo.
And that's one of the strangest things is when, like, I'm very open with the podcast and I'm very open with my life. So for me, you know, I'm happy to entertain any guest on the podcast, and that sounds crazy, right? Like, some people are like, no, like some people.
To some people it would be. To most people, maybe.
Yeah,
that would be crazy,
right? But like, you know, even people that, you know, may not agree with me, whether it's politically or religiously or ideologically, like, I'd love to talk to these people, because what I really want to understand is how did they get to this mindset, right? And that's why, you know, I guess the structure of how I like to talk about things on the podcast is I like to go through childhood and things like that, because those are all lenses that we're getting. You know, whether we perceive them as lenses or not, but we're getting these filters based on our upbringing.
That's what I meant before. Yeah, I was linking that in totally. All these perspectives, man.
Yeah. So, you know, and then as we get older, then we realize that, hey, this, you know, I think this way about this, but then it's only when you self-reflect and challenge and go, okay, why do I think this way about this?
Yeah.
That you then have to get more open-minded and go, okay, is there another lens that I could view this from?
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's what perspective is, you know, and I think the beauty about perspective is that it's like, you know, if I'm trying to identify what an object is, and I look at it from one angle, it could elude me what it actually is. So if I go and now move, you know, around it, you know, circular arc or whatever, like in a semicircle, and go to the other side of it, I now see another face of it. And that might help me to now inform me what that actual thing is. It may not. I might still need to gain another perspective again, move 90 degrees around it again, and then go, okay, what's it look like now? And it's only like after we've done a full 360 around the object that we can then say, you know, with conviction that this is what it is.
Yeah, we're going for a fucking 17-degree stroll.
Yeah.
And then being like, this is what it is.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe it's this, you a punk motherfucker.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is.
Yeah. So, you know, I want to get into the performing arts thing. You know, like what made you go to a performing arts high school?
Dude, I felt like one of the only people there who was actually doing theatre work. So I was like performing at martial arts and like performance were like the first things I kind of got involved in. But I was getting heavily involved in theatre, and I started doing stuff at the New Theatre, and I met like Jess Tovey, who went on to be a Home and Away star. I met Lindsay Farris, who's a great guy. He was like a really, really powerful actor. And I think he's on Ash and The Walking Dead now.
Okay.
Or something. But so I got to do work with them, and I think I had a couple of moments where I just showed a lot of promise. And then when I went and auditioned for drama at Newtown, you know, I'm not saying this to blow my own horn, I'm saying this to put it in perspective, because this is what was leading towards like the not stage parent kind of shit, but like this is what bolstered. I think there was a lot of, like, I thought I was cruising to Newtown to be the next Russell Crowe kind of thing. One of the drama teachers said I was the most talented audition he'd seen in years, which is probably laughable in hindsight, because one of the main fucking exercises we were doing was pretending to be fruit in a bowl. There's a lot of improv and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like, I think I had a monologue there. I don't know.
Okay, hang on. Let's be fruit in a bowl.
Banana.
What do you say? You can't say anything.
It was just improv, man. You know, change it. Stuff that comes so naturally to any kid who's been hyper vigilant their whole life due to, you know, trauma and shit, and seeing so many. Like, bro, I was having full blown adult conversations with adults when I was like, I don't know, at 10, 11, 12, because Dad was a movie reviewer for a while.
Oh, wow.
So I love my films, you know, and I was growing up watching all types of kick-ass shit. Aliens, the sequel, Tombstone, Starship Troopers, Grosse Point Blank, like, and you're seeing these adult themes at a young age. So maybe it was mimicry, maybe it was mere mimicry, and I thought that I was, you know, like I see a lot of kids like that. They're a little bit advanced and they think they run shit, but it's like, you know, and they're slick, they can talk, but you see the gaping hole that is their lack of experience. And it's cute. You want to put your arm over them and be like, chill out, bro. You're good though. You're good, you know? So I was having these conversations with them and I just felt comfortable doing it. And I went and got in. I was the only local who got accepted for drama. So like you basically couldn't be a local and get accepted for drama, but they kind of made it happen to put me in the drama stream. And I think I was facing a lot, bro, because I was very much like working into middle class. When mum and my stepdad got together, they sent me to Wyvern, which is a private school from year 3. That's Cranbrook. That's a private school. 8 miles shit. Year 3 to year 6, I was in Wyvern, and it was amazing, man. You mentioned you being at a selective school, how it was a good school and stuff, but bro, I found that the private school was actually what turned me into, I don't want to say who I am today, but it helped a lot, bro. I was playing a lot of footy, playing a lot of like structure, like I'm mentioning. And it was fucking good, bro. I've got to, you know, and I'm always grateful to my mum and my stepdad for those years in prep school. I think Newington High School may have been a bit too much because I also sent my little sister to like PLC, and I think she stayed there or something, or MLC or something like that. So you can see how many crazy, man, I was playing, you know, I was one of a few white kids in an all Aboriginal school. And I hate saying that, like some tokenism shit. I've got a very good relationship with Aborigines and the culture in general. Obviously they're different people, but like I feel closely aligned to that people. When I was in jail, even like I was for fucking 2 seconds, you know, like 4 weeks or something, I was in Silverwater and Dawn to Lois. But nevertheless, I didn't know I was getting out anytime soon. So the way that I behaved in there is the way that I would have continued to behave. You know, and I was just training. A lot of the boys are going, fuck, the Terminator. Look at this cunt, he's the Terminator, bro. Brendan Fraser. I always got Brendan Fraser, and I was cut because Keanu, my brother, he got like Jared Hayne. He looks like a kind of good-looking, moldy Jared Hayne. But then I was always getting, Brendan Fraser from The Mummy. And I didn't like that at the time because when I was like 16, 17, I was on some, not some wiggish shit, but I was like, bro, put me on the dark cunt. Put me on someone darker. But now I'm more good. Brendan Fraser's a good-looking man.
He's a good-looking man.
Oof, he was. He was a smoke show in The Mummy. But yeah, I didn't even know where I was going with all that. Oh, bro, yeah, Newtown. So I had a lot of different experiences, man. I went from like the hood, you know, we're in the block all the time, Everleigh Street, at Mundine's gym, at Chock's gym, back when there was bonfires in the grass and it was proper, you know what I mean? And I'm coming from Newtown High, you know, to go, because Keanu and I are one of a few kids who kind of, this shit was important too. Whereas that like excommunicated me from like, I was getting framed by kids in Newtown, dude. Like I was always friends with the younger kids. So when I was in year 9, year 10, the year 7s, year 8s, to be like, Jack, like have an arm wrestle or, you know, some shit like that. Cause I think they liked my energy. Whereas Newtown hated that kind of energy, bro. They even said you'd be better off at Dulwich Hill or Leichhardt. You'd be fine there. You'd be a good student. Like this is what some of the teachers are telling me. They're literally trying to get me to
change schools. And it was like, you know, so this is the third, at this stage, this is the third people that essentially doesn't want me. You know what I mean? You're getting bounced from home to home. You're getting accused of playing the houses off against one another. You asked earlier where the fear comes from. The fear comes from like, you know, the moods of people like that. You're always reading them. So then what about at Wyvern?
I'm still fucked up because of that shit, I think.
But at Wyvern, did you feel like you fit in?
Yeah, I did eventually. I was actually reminiscing on my first day there the other day, man. I remember it like it was so different. But yeah, I did fit in. I've still got friends there who are supportive, who I talk to now, you know, like the twins, Elliot and Luke, Ted Russell, bunch of other guys. Oh, funny story, Johnny. Get this one. I was friends with a fella called, I probably should have mentioned his name, Nick Grogan. I was friends with Nick Grogan, used to go over to his house. It was the most different vibe. We'd go over to like, I don't know where it was, the Bible Belt, huge house. And this is how I knew like, yeah, all right, I'm going to private school, but it was pretty much me and Chris. Chris's dad was a taxi driver. But I felt like it was Chris and I who were probably on the lower end of the economic spectrum or whatever. Just had that thought, you know, everyone else is cruising around in Ranges and stuff. You know, my stepdad had come through in the Commodore. Oh, good, man. It was great. The sport, everything. But, dude, flash forward like 10 years later, I've always been friends with Nick Grogan. Nick Grogan's dad is a judge. So I'm in court and he goes, Jack, Norman-Pottinger, I know that name. And Mr. Norman-Pottinger, did you go to school with my son? And I'm like, yes, I did, sir. Motherfucker proceeds to whoop my ass. He wants an initial guilty plea for some bullshit that got dismissed in the end for some bullshit. But he wanted an initial guilty plea, and I think it was just a hearing or something. And he's like, you know, I never really understand why, you know, how you're not made to give a guilty plea straight away, because you basically got to, I think you've got to give your plea by a certain date or something like that, but not at the hearing. And it was just, he just kind of fucking brutalized me, and I'm thinking, clown. Oh, what the fuck is a judge? Anyway, cut out that part, bro. But it was nuts. I remember just seeing him and being like, oh, what a crazy life. So yeah, I went Newington, got into Newtown, was there for 7, 8, 9, 10, and it got worse and worse, bro, because I was just going through it so much. I'm still really good friends with an English teacher, Miss Collier, beautiful woman. I messaged her once when I was bouncing in the club at like 19, and I'm like, hey, miss, do you remember me? And she's like, you know, Jack, do I remember you? Because I sought shelter there a couple of times when mum didn't really want me home, and she just knew something was up, bro, and she was one of the few teachers there with real empathy. You know, she's from the UK. She reminds me of like a character out of Hogwarts, because she had kind of short, spiky hair at the time, and she was fit, you know, she was strong. She liked the rugby union. And maybe that's why she was comfortable with a young masculine man. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because other people were hitting me with like, you know, who do you think you are? Getting really aggressive. And it was like, bro, what are you doing? Like, who are you? And now you realize who a lot of teachers are. And I'm not hating on teachers at all. I'm going on everyone today, judges, teachers. Right. Now when you realize who teachers are, like we were just saying, bro, they're just people. And a lot of the time they're people who've, you know, I've seen if you just come to the conclusion, I'm going to be a teacher. Yeah. Like they fucked around for a little bit and then they've just gone and they're pursuing to be a teacher kind of thing. I felt like a fallback. It doesn't seem like a genuine passion, and I really feel like to be a teacher. But it will be fucking hard too. And shout out to the teachers out there, because the ones who care, like Miss Collier,
they make a big difference.
They save your fucking life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So I've still got good relationships, people like that. But for the most part, bro, that school was fucking brutal.
So brutal from the sense of what, like the expectation? Yeah,
and the excommunication. I just got reverse bullied, man. Like I was getting framed for like, and it sounds like bullshit, but like I'm playing footy. I'm such a tangential thinker. Sorry, I didn't even finish the story, but I'm playing footy. A year 7 kid gets knocked over. Year 7 kid who I always liked. And I think he got knocked over by me tackling one kid, and then he knocked over that kid. Yeah. And he got a little bit hurt. The kid in my year, the first thing he does, shout out to Jeff, motherfucker. First thing he does is jump up and go, Ja, kind of smile already playing on his lips. Yeah. What did you do?
Yeah, okay.
Like, what the fuck is this, bro? I've never been that person. Like, I've just never been that deceptive. So I remember I full got taken up there and like, you're hurting your 7s on the footy field now. That's what you're doing. There's one girl, Alexandra McCready, shout out to you. I love your kid. I was dry humping her, not a kid my age, was dry humping her just briefly because we were always fucking around in class like that. And the art teacher actually laughed for a second. And Alexandra and I would always like play around or do dumb shit. She's like one of the boys. So I just dry humped her like 2 times. And this teacher, Miss Hunt, she laughs, bro. She cracks up just like that. Yeah. Must have been the face I was pulling or something. Totally not sexual. Never been like, you know, I never do anything. Yeah. Fuck, I don't want to feel like, you know, gross motherfucker. Yeah. Like, bro, Alexandra decided to write in the report. She got told to go to the principal's office. Miss Hunt changed her mind last minute and was like, that's not funny. You got to go to the office. All good. When Alexandra went to the office, she wrote, and I quote, Jack's just like that. Oh, I'm hearing this shit after, like, Jack's just like that? The wording on this shit is crazy. So, yeah, bro, I was pinned as like a fucking... I felt like I was Ivan Milat Jr. sometimes, and I was just chilling, really, calling out too much maybe. Or you come from an all-boys school as well.
You're very boisterous, right? Like, so, yeah. And so, you know, you're... and I think also... Energy. But this is the thing. I think there's also... and I don't know if this resonates for you, but let me share some thoughts on this, right? Please. So, for me... I was a bit of a big mouth. I would say I was a big mouth in high school. And I feel
Johnny
like...
Yaps.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm still a big mouth, right? But it's one of those things about... I used to... I guess it's almost like you call your shot, right? So by calling your shot, there's some accountability there, right? And so, you know, you might make a claim and now you got to live up to it, right? And I feel like, you know, as kids, you're always trying to compensate for something.
Yep.
Right? So you compensate by obviously you call big shots. Now you got to take big shots, right?
What were you compensating for with the mum stuff?
No, I wouldn't say it was that.
Was shit heavy at that stage? Sorry to cut you off.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. So for me, you know, when I was growing up, it was like life was relatively good. The only thing I would say is that, you know, for my parents, obviously, as first generation migrants coming to a country with nothing, that they saw their role as to obviously, you know, get a foot on the ladder. Right? So for them, it was really important to work really hard to, you know, get some money, to buy a house, to do those things. Like that was their Australian dream, right? But for me as a child, like, so my brother was 7 years older than me. So my brother was basically self-sufficient, right? My dad described him as the latchkey kid. You could just leave him anywhere. He'll go and do his own thing. I was the opposite. I needed my parents, but my parents were always working. So for me, I used to eat dinner, say 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, because that would be when we'd get home from my parents' office, and then my mum would have to cook something, and then we'd eat, and then, I'd be in bed maybe 11, 12. So, throughout all those years, I ended up sleeping really, really late, because that's just what life was like for me. Yeah. So for me...
Is this Borkham Hills? Is the area you live in?
Yeah. So originally grew up out west, so we were living in St. Clair. And then my parents, they bought a piece of land and they built a house in Borkham Hills. But like the office was always in Blacktown. So no matter what age I was, every day was a commute. Every day was like an hour's drive. And then for the first 10 years of my life in St. Clair, the 5 years of schooling that I did, I was going to Crestwood Public. So they sent me to a school in the hills thinking that, because we're eventually going to move there anyway, we'll just send him there. And it was like, an hour in the car to get there. And so, you got very good at sleeping in the car. And for me, that's why, when I drive places, like I don't really think about how far it is. Like to me, it's just normal. Whereas, people go, 30-minute drive, that seems really far. Like, but I've gotten so used to, always being traveling at distance that it didn't.
When you're cruising on the highway too, I mean, like...
Yeah, like that's not... Yeah, it doesn't really impact you, right? Yeah. So for me as a kid though, like, I felt like...
loneliness. A sense of loneliness. Fear.
Yeah, probably a bit of loneliness, right? Yeah. And so that's why I say, for me, you then find your friends very quickly. Yeah. And they sort of replace your parents.
Yeah, I can see in your case exactly how that worked.
Yeah.
You might have had, I don't want to say normal path, but that seems like a common thing for a young man and probably young girl, but really talking about young man, talking from experience, they have a good group of friends. And I've seen that through so many of my colleagues or whatever. They've got big groups of friends, large groups. That was never me, but like, cause I never fit in that way. I was always a bit of a zebra, I guess, but then also, I don't know, but that's a good path, a natural path,
Yeah. So, as a result of that, for me, I was like, I would say I was always sort of compensating, for that.
Sadness, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I guess for you, did you, does that resonate for you?
Like, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if it was directly coming from sadness, but I mean, it would have been. It's great talking about this stuff. It calls on a reserve of deep emotion that I have. It's good to talk about this stuff even like a month out from the fight or whatever, because it reminds you of where you've come from. Yeah. And that's what's so interesting as well about the dating game and everything, bro. Not to go off on tangents, but like realizing that you're being, at least, in the same way that women are being judged for their looks a lot of the time. Yeah. The classic thing is people will always want from you what you validate yourself with. Yep. So that's one thing. Got to be careful how you're validating yourself. If you're only doing it through, I'm the hottest bitch, don't be surprised if people are looking at you for that and then they're bouncing afterwards, because you've got to have character and beauty and something. Substance. Fuck yeah. And so, but the thing is now as men, I think what a lot of men feel is that we're being judged on for some ruthless shit, like our social status, and I think of like my boy, I won't name him, but he's like 5'5" or whatever, and he hasn't got a great rig on him and is not particularly, blessed or fortunate looking or whatever and shit like that. So I think about it from that perspective, and it's like, but then these guys can still find love. If anything, maybe it's easier because you're but basically it's a classic thing about, that you're being looked at for what you can provide. And I'm so proud of myself for where I've come from. I used to make a lot of money doing things that I shouldn't have been doing. I got raided. I was a PT and I would sell cocaine out of the apartment. Yeah. That's what I used to do. And it was an apartment, twice the size of this and all this kind of shit, fast money. And, the thing is my old man would be getting on drugs half the time up there too. Whoa. Yeah. Oh, bro, I haven't even got into half the heavy shit. There's so much heaviness. Yeah. Like, fuck it. I'll go raw. Fuck it. We'll do it live.
Let's go. We're here.
Bro, like a week after my suicide attempt where I basically laid on a bed in ICU and I had to check myself out.
So wait, how did you try?
Heroin. I asked the dealer, I go, would this much kill me? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, I'll get that much. No, it was like 3 points, something like that. I don't even know what it was. Luckily, I think I was going to survive anyway, but my girlfriend or my ex-girlfriend at the time, this is why I did it, out of pure guilt. I kind of had my relationship eroded. And this is something I built up, man. I love this girl. She was my first girlfriend, Sicilian. Her name's Beck. We're still on good terms. Like, this is years ago. And we kind of fell in love and went through some crazy stuff. But then when I felt myself losing her or she didn't do what I thought was right, which is like, because she was scared by the whole thing, like, my dad doing hard drugs and me kind of slowly losing it because I was giving my all to my dad, who at the time was promising like, no, I'll be there for you. Like it's only right that I'll be your father now, kind of thing. You've helped me enough. Like, cause the relationship was so weird and backwards. Like it was like brothers, much more like brothers.
Yeah.
And, man, he'd just be always like wanting to get on it. And, it was a long story, but basically I'm laying there in the ICU and I finally cracked under the weight of like, there was no one there and I was just holding everything up myself, and I was like 24 or something. I was doing a lot, and yeah, he was in the waiting room. My girlfriend and my mum at the time, like, Jack's played us all for fools. He's been getting on drugs constantly. He's been lying to us. And it's like, and even Beck and mum told me like, yeah, your dad said all this stuff because they fucking knew what was the case, bro. You know what I mean?
He was on it too.
Fuck yeah. Not only on it too, but like, the whole relationship was more me trying to get dad to train. I ended up leaving the apartment and moving in with him. That should have been a massive red flag. But, you could say that I almost died twice that fucking day because, there was suicide and then there was lying on a hospital bed. My dad said I could have died twice, put it in a lyric or something. But, I had to walk myself out of ICU. And then a week later, my dad's dying on the ground because he's shot up a fucking massive amount of H as well. What's crazy was... Old boy couldn't actually do it himself, so I'd have to inject him with this shit every time. So I'm having to make it for him. I once showed him later on, I showed him like a half a gram of heroin, and I go, is this good for you, this much? And he's like, yeah, sweet. And I'm like, this would fucking kill you. I was almost crying. I'm like, this would fucking kill you. I'd be done for manslaughter. Do you understand that? He's like, oh, sorry, man, fine. He was just, bro, he'd always call, my sister, Kate, his daughter, like, stupid little slut or something like that when we were partying or whatever. And I'd be like, Dad, you can't say that about your daughter, man. Like, that's my sister. I fucking love her. I don't want to hear you say that shit. I was going to housing commissions slapping kids around because she was getting involved in fights that I later found out she was basically starting, and then I'm almost getting arrested because her mum is calling the cops on me because I will not have it dealt with this way. So I'm almost like, I'm already on a suspended sentence this time. I jump around on tangents, but they all mix in. You know what I mean? Like, this is like, bro, my upbringing, especially with my stepmom and stuff, there was so much fucking resentment there, bro. Like, it was nuts. Like, this stuff definitely it plays a massive part into who I am now, because I say that to say this. When I look at members of the opposite sex who, it's like, this is where I look at like fairy tale stuff, and maybe that's my problem because there's too much of a pedestal thing there. But like, people go, oh, do you not like women or something like that? They get that idea because I'll tell the truth on some Patrice O'Neill shit. I'll just tell the fucking truth. That's respect. That's
being blunt. It's transparency.
Yeah, man. Right? And I'm saying a lot of girls are ruthless. They're looking at you like, how big's a dick? Is he good looking? Has he got cash?
Yeah.
Let's talk facts. Like, it's so when you go from having it to when you're not, or when I'm wearing a fucking security guard vest to where I'm wearing a suit for a different gig, and you see the difference as to how you're viewed. And I understand part of that is like biological. It's a security thing. I can respect it to an extent. There's nothing attractive about a motherfucker who is broke. I do get that. But the level of how people are acting like what they want is someone who's got character and principles and is a man or whatever. It's like I'm seeing that constantly put on the back burner in favor of clout, in favor of attention, in favor of short cash, in favor of appearances, in favor of you know what I'm talking about, right? Like, it's just.
This is the thing where the value of a person, right? There is no difference in the value of a person from person to person. We perceive there's a difference. Right? But
that's what Christ would say too. We're all worthy under God.
That's right.
We're all equal.
So, because I went through this basically after I've stopped working, in the automotive industry. I had 17 years in the automotive industry. Yeah. And
you're a boss.
I was running a BMW dealership, right? So for me, you sort of realize just how much of your identity is tied up in that.
I was thinking about this last night with my dad. Yeah, man.
Right? And then you think about, when you have that sort of outlook on things, it's very easy to stay in that frame of mind where you might think you're better than someone else, right? Whereas one of the things that I tried to always value is understanding that, hey, everybody's important in my business, right? The cleaner is just as important as the technician or the salesperson or the manager.
I show way more respect to the cleaners than like the upscale guys, right? I've realized, I've got it reversed.
But it's one of those things that they all have an important part to play, and to discredit what they do would be basically saying, okay, well, let's take them out of the equation and then see how society functions.
Totally,
right?
Of course, Fight Club shit, right?
Yeah,
where you're cleaners, where the guys take out your trash.
Yeah, so
don't fuck with us.
If you start to take these people out of the equation that perhaps you wouldn't consider doing that style of work, well, who's going to do it?
Talking about your identity as far as work, how did you feel when you left the corporate stuff? And did you fill it up with more martial arts? Did you fill it up with more good stuff?
Yeah, that's been I filled it up with more family and for more martial arts at the moment. Yeah. Right. So
would you say it benefited you overall?
Look, I'm so grateful for the time that I've had with my kids and being able to watch.
You want to get back to work, eh?
There's a part of you that does.
Of course.
Right? Because there's always going to be that that ego that wants to be fed.
Fuck yeah.
Right? That wants to
rump steaks every night in a 3-bedroom apartment.
So I think like freedom in life is being able to have a meal and not worrying about the cost.
Yeah.
Right? That's freedom.
That's why I feel blessed, man. I'm able to eat well every day.
Yeah.
That's a blessing.
Yeah, and so if you have that as a if you can achieve that, well then everything else is sort of a bonus.
True. Right? But if you stop for 1 second, that's the problem. If I became sick, that lifestyle goes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why it's important to build up now.
Yeah.
I guess. But if I think about this, if I had kids, it'd be different as well. So yeah. I feel like it's spoiled fuck sometimes.
Yeah, you got to. Well, with kids, it changes your perspective because now you got to provide for these other people.
Yeah, right? I think that's very important for some people because they're naturally so fucking selfish. That's when I meet people who are like,
but if you're selfish before, you're probably still selfish after.
For sure. But some people it seems to have this change where it's like at least some of the guys I know, like they looked in their daughter's eyes, and it's like stuff changes,
And like honestly, daughters for men is one of those. Look, it sounds very sexist, but I don't care if it sounds sexist because when I looked into my daughter's eyes for the first time, like I was overcome by this overwhelming sense of I need to protect you.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I think it's a unity, bro. There's a unity there between the feminine and the masculine. It doesn't just have to be sexual in nature. There's and it's been taken away, bro. Like there's I love that, man. That's beautiful. Go on.
It's primordial, but at the same time, you also need to balance that out, right? Because I don't need that. And so when I say that, me trying to be a better parent means that even though I have this emotional urge to protect her, doesn't mean that I wrap her in cotton wool and helicopter parent her.
That's not love.
Yeah. So and same thing with my son, right? I had this overwhelming sense that I want my boy to be a strong boy. Right, but that doesn't mean that you can't show him love. You need to show him love and give him that attention and that affection. Maybe more, right? Like, and sometimes in the way in how he acts, he's more dependent than what my daughter is.
Yeah, which I hear is common.
Yeah, look, he's
young girls are soldiers, bro.
Yeah,
they're ruthless motherfuckers.
Yeah, well, the problems with girls comes when they hit teenage years.
Yeah, fuck you, dad years.
Yeah, whereas the problems with boys is probably before that.
This is what I worry about, Johnny. So you look at all the bullshit that's out there for them on the internet, and I've had a couple of clients who've got kids, around that fuck you mum, fuck you dad age.
Yeah,
all the social movements are. Even recently, let's talk about it with the shots. With the shots, this is the only thing where you can skip the permission from the parents and go get a shot.
Yeah.
Anyway, what the fuck are we doing here? And when I spoke to this one client, we found out that I mentioned it to her. She didn't believe me, and then she asked her daughter about it. Coming to find out, she was going to go get the shot done like the next day. You know what I mean? Which I think she ended up getting done anyway. They were all super pro that, but
yeah, like it's one of those.
That's so insidious, bro.
I think as a parent, right? If we have these rules in society that say, hey, a person isn't an adult until they're 18 years of age, and in some countries, for alcohol it's 21. But obviously for here we say it's 18 years of age.
Start them young.
The problem is that like a lot of the times, like I wasn't an adult at 18. I probably wasn't an adult at 25. Like
I wasn't. I'm probably still not a fucking adult.
That's right. Like you always got to grow and develop.
Yeah,
right? But
sure.
You got to come to a point where you do have to task somebody with the ability to make their own decisions. But at what point is that, right? For some people, like they might mature faster than other people. But that doesn't necessarily mean they have the right perspectives to then go and make decisions about their life, right? And really considering all the consequences.
That's probably me, yeah. I probably did a lot. I probably made decisions based on who knows why I made the decisions I made, but probably because I had to mature so much faster than other kids.
Yeah.
Then stuff was just normal to me, bro. Stuff was normal to me. Stuff was normal. People still spin out if I tell them kind of shit that I did. They would have no idea.
So can we wind back a little bit?
Yeah,
because I want to talk about So your
we're
decision,
at Newtown kind of thing, yeah.
yeah. So
Newtown.
when you decided that, hey, I've had enough,
I've got to go.
Yeah, got to go.
Didn't fit in. I was walking around by myself all the time. It was crazy. I would go to the gym by myself. I was a complete lone wolf. I did it on purpose, but I kind of excommunicated myself from everyone because I genuinely looked around and I didn't trust anyone. And it wasn't even skewed, brother. I feel like I was on the path to truth. I just didn't know it, and it's a hard path, but it's led me back to the right way. You know, it's led me back here to where I'm at now.
So when you left, did you have a plan? Like, was this? So how did you fall into the personal training thing?
Okay, first plan was ADFA.
Okay, so you're going to go to the Defence Force.
Yeah, and I went. We got back from Thailand, I remember, and we hadn't even gotten back yet. So school hadn't even restarted for year 11 yet. I decided at the end of year 10, I can't go back here. It was just so fucking ruthless between the teachers and just like, bro, just genuinely people felt like they hated me. You know, even as like there was so much animosity towards me because I was a big character. I couldn't hide. When I was younger, I used to walk down the street and I felt like a puppy who hadn't grown into my frame yet, bro. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I started boxing. That was good for me. But basically, we went to Thailand. It was the worst holiday ever, bro. With my stepmom, my dad, my little sister, and it was just it was nuts. I remember at a certain point, like they were just always spitting poison at me, bro. And it was just so like I can't even remember the words anymore. But like, just super fucking cook stuff, you know. And when we got back, we hadn't even gotten in the house yet, and Dad already was like, "You're a fucking dropout." And I was like, Year 11 hasn't started again yet, bro. It's like you couldn't wait to call me that, right? You know, that's when I figured it out. You're petty. You're petty. And even at 16. I remember when I was like 15, again on tangents, he was saying some vicious shit to me on the phone. I was at mum's and I was crying. I'm like, all right, I'm going to come over and let's fucking
sort it out.
We'll sort it out then. Yeah, bro, he had a baseball bat waiting for me. But he squashed it as soon as I rocked up. He was like, hey, son, you know, all good. He was just mouthing off drunk. And that's the thing. Like he figured out quickly I was something that he wasn't in regards to how I carried it. He used to be like, oh, you're like he'd have a few fucking red wines and be like, you're like an old school, you know, gunslinger. I don't know where you got it from. It must be from your great granddad because Frederick Pottinger was like a badass ranger. Ended up shooting himself accidentally. Even says in Wikipedia he was renowned for his quick temper. It's just hilarious.
Oh, there you go. That's ingrained in you.
Yeah, maybe. But I feel like it more for righteous anger. But I was coming home and he used to worry about me bouncing and stuff, being like, I used to worry about you getting hurt. And then, you know, I started worrying about you just hurting someone else, you know, like not because I'm a dog or anything, but just, you know, a few times, man, like you hit someone who, you know, is deserving or whatever, but then you see their head hit the ground and bro, just like I prayed that fucking night, bro. I prayed that night for that bloke, dude. He was someone who ironically was like touching up a girl and then we pulled up on him and his mate. They were just sauntering down the road. I think they were like some Mexican fucking cholos or some shit. I don't know what they were doing here. It's like, you guys cartel or something? It's like on Oxford Street, but they were kind of carrying in a certain way, and we jumped out of the car, and I just one-pieced him, hit him once, and his head hit the ground. I remember saying to him, like, I went down, I was actually going to help him up, then I was like, don't get up. He started to kind of slowly get up, but he went full stiff and hit the ground. It was so bad, bro. And I know from that point on, even in my last fight, bro, I dropped my opponent, and I didn't want to jump on him and start ground and pounding him, bro. Yeah. It's fucking it just feels. I'm gonna have to get used to it too because.
Well, it's up to the ref. So this is the ref. In the cage, it's always the ref's responsibility, right? And that's what the ref gets paid to do.
Some of them are dog shit, brother.
Of course, some of them are dog shit. But this is why, you know, for organisations, they need good quality referees. Yeah. Because they're there to protect the fighter.
I'd actually like to ref.
Yeah. It's like
I really feel I'd be a better ref than a fighter because I'll be able to. I know. I can see guys getting hit and I know I'll be able to. I believe in standing TKOs, for example. Yeah. There's a lot of time when a guy's getting lit, he's on his way out. Yeah. And I know there's the Czech Congo, Pat Barry's, close your eye and, you know, uppercut or whatever, close your eyes and fucking overhand right. But I really feel like there's a lot of times where they're getting lit up and you got to have the ref like this ready and then bum and then it stops. Because like remember Rashad Evans, Lyoto Machida, for example? I watched that and I was almost in tears, bro. I was a kid and I remember watching Rashad get stanky leg. Yeah. And I used to talk to Rashad on I think it was actually MySpace, bro. Really? Rashad Evans, he wrote me back. I'm like, why do you nipple tweak, bro? And he wrote me back and he's like, he wrote back a fucking miniature paragraph, bro, talking about it's what I do to remind myself to have fun. It's all about just, and I understand it, bro. And I watch him now, watch Rashad's evolution now. Yeah. And I love him, bro. These guys became like father figures to me. You know what I'm saying? Even 50 Cent, but guys like that. And yeah, bro, I remember talking to him and then seeing him get laid out like that, I was just disgusted. I was like, where's his cornerman? Like, where's this? Like, why are they leaving him like that? Like, fix his fucking leg. Like, just little things, bro. Empathy in the moment. I feel like people don't have much empathy. And that's why another thing that I hope to be able to show in my fights, if it's not, you know, athleticism, speed, power, courage, you know, shit like that, but also empathy, you know?
So, yeah, so for me, you know, one of my favorite MMA fighters is Genki Sudo.
Hey, we are all one, right?
We are all one. Yeah. Right? What a message. right? And I remember watching.
As long as it's not one world government shit.
Well, that's right. But I remember watching he's got a documentary and it talks about how when he was young, he was fighting for fame and power and money, and as he's gotten older, he realized how, not say futile, but how meaningless those things are.
Yeah.
And his message changed, and he focused more on Buddhism and trying to make an impact, like a positive impact, so that people, through fighting of all things, right, people can realize just how, we're the same.
There's
right?
love there.
Yeah.
There's different ways to carry it too, man. You can be a gangster or whatever, but also be like, go out, I don't know. Yeah. To me, I think it strengthens me to know that I don't do shady sucker shit to people. I don't dog shot people. I don't steal. I don't lie. I'm not deceptive. And that way it's a great filtering system, because although I'm still massively flawed and everything like that, and I can probably be a big mouth, I'm sure I can be this and that. Even my own thoughts will perturb me sometimes. Now it's different. It's not my actions. I'll just be annoyed that I even thought something. You know what I'm saying?
I think there's merit in it, though. Like when I say that, so I always like to think about this concept, and I talk about it a lot. But so if anyone's listening to the podcast and they go, "Johnny's talking about this concept of infinity again," but essentially, if you think about the concept of infinity is so large that the likelihood that there is another Jack and Johnny out there sitting down having a podcast right now is likely, very likely.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And there could be a Jack and Johnny that are in reverse positions and experience life in the reverse format. But
endless parallel universes.
Endless parallel universes, right? So whenever I have a thought about something, whether it's the extreme negative, right? Like, just like how you brought up, messed up stuff, like thinking about, if I bash my sister.
Bash.
No, but like, but like, I think
I don't even mean in those regards. They're healthy and they're natural. It's almost like you're picking up from the collective consciousness kind of thing.
Yeah. Like, so I view it as one of those things that, hey, there is probably, and like I use that from an empathy perspective, that there is probably some version in the world that is doing that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But in this world, it doesn't have to be this one. Right? And so I use that to try and make that to try and make the right choices to be the best person that I could be.
For sure. I think I do something similar.
But you still got to think about the dark alternatives.
I think you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you don't consider that, hey, there is a likelihood that this could be the alternative, and you explore the different scenarios, yes, it means you go into some dark places, but then you can be so grateful that, hey, those dark places aren't here where I am today.
Yeah. Dude, I think about this is very true. I think about this all the time. I think about, like, man, imagine if I snapped and just killed my crazy fucking ex at the time who was trying to, like, lock me up and stuff. Imagine if I just broke a fucking neck or something like that. I'd be forever a monster everyone would view me differently.
Yep.
Not that it's just about that. Like, you'd be crushed, like your whole, and you think about it and you're like, and that's why my faith has kind of been rekindled. Not kind of, it's been massively rekindled, but also, when I mentioned the book before, I felt, what falling into your sin feels like. Falling into your sin. Like, if you think about what that is, you fall into this negative feedback loop. You fall into this series of, and there's this book called Transurfing, I think, that my client told me about recently. It's all about frequencies and how apparently there's a pendulum effect that's designed to keep you in a certain frequency once, as we mentioned, your perspective comes into play. And if you've got a certain perspective, like, I don't want to do this, that pendulum is going to try to keep you there. And again, flashing back to my dad, I constantly saw him in negative feedback loops, and I honestly believe so much of my stuff and fear was just unlearning the shit that I picked up from him. Brother, I always heard him in the bathroom having conversations to himself in the mirror, so sucking in his cheeks and going, right, well, like, just shit like that all the time, and which I've realized now in hindsight were kind of narcissistic traits when coupled with the fact that you don't see any genuine remorse or guilt and stuff.
Yeah.
So you find yourself wondering if your dad was like fucking Dexter or something, like a sociopath. But no, I totally agree with you, bro. Those positive, those dark thoughts are compulsory almost to think about. Jordan Peterson mentions that too. He's like, people always talk about, communism, it just wasn't done right, it was done incorrectly, and basically insinuating that they could do a better job if they did it themselves, which is a massively arrogant thought, because as you said earlier, as we both said the first day we met, probably absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think it's so important to recognize, and I tie this into New Age spiritualism, that we're all, and I believe this, we're all inherently sinful. Like, even original sin, whether you want to believe it or not, if you really look at what we do, we're ultimately self-absorbed creatures, and almost even what we do on a level of caring for others is often a biological feedback loop that's positive for us. You know, we're getting dopamine, serotonin.
Yep.
We're getting the right neurological feedback that tells us, hey, that was the right thing to do. And that's why Friedrich Nietzsche came out, I think, and said, if you remove the Judeo-Christian principles from society, you collapse that society completely. Doesn't mean you have to be Christian and believe that Jesus rose from the dead.
Yeah.
But
it's structure.
It's fucking structure, and you mentioned it before, and it's like people, I see it a lot with atheists now, because atheism has almost become the smart person's religion, because there's so much dogmatic scientific thinking, and science is what, space and science, really, to be specific, is what drew me away from Christianity. Because as I mentioned, my dad was a massive atheist. So I was reading Chris Hitchens early, like God is dead or God is not great, Richard Dawkins as well. And now when I go and watch some of these amazing debates, like atheists versus Christians, Peter Lennox, who's amazing, Peter Lennox versus, I think it's Chris Hitchens in that one. And you're seeing these incredible arguments and stuff, and it's like you really see the argument for just even on a principality point of view, having these things in where it's like, you know, thou shalt not kill, you know, you got to covet human life, you know, we're trying not to lie, because when you really think about it, if you ask someone, are you a good man? That's a classic thing. Yeah, I'm a good man. Okay, have you ever lied? Yeah, I lied last week. I told the missus she, you know, looked great. I've had sex out of wedlock multiple times. I've stolen before. So you're a lying, cheating adulterer. Yeah. Essentially, what you're telling me. And oh yeah, but that's a rough standard. Is it, or are we just saying that because it's easier to swallow, or do we all massively fall short in the eyes of God or a higher intelligence? Which to me, looking at this whole world around us, is actually insanity to say. This was all birthed from a big bang. For the first time in history, something was created out of nothing. That in and of itself is a miracle. So our whole universe, going off atheist logic, is, I never realized this until just now, is reliant upon a miracle. You know, 65% of physicists, I'm pretty sure they're actually, I think they were Christian or they were outright religious. But I think the world is an amazing, fantastical, incredible thing. And I think we've been told, man, a quarter of the truth about everything that we're on.
Well, you think about the whole idea behind the Big Bang, right? One of the things that I have thought about is that if you think about, like, let's just say the image of a lake, right? A still lake, right? And you just think that this lake is so big that you can't see where the shore is. Like, it's just infinitely large, right?
God moving over the face of the water, right?
But then you just, the Big Bang would be like, that initial ripple when you touch the center of the lake, and all those ripples just going out from, that initial point where you've depressed the water.
Who pressed the water?
Right? Yeah, who pressed the water? Yeah. Right? So from that perspective, it's completely logical that there is, that somebody's had to instill that initial spark that's created the Big Bang. For sure. Right? And then you can get into a whole conversation.
Terrain theory is the next step.
But I think it's, from that perspective, I think it's logical that there could be, whether you call it a god or a creator or whatever you want to call it, that there is something that is provided the initial energy for the spark that created the Big Bang.
Absolutely. Well, it's still happening now, right? How much of our universe is comprised of stuff that we don't understand? We're talking about dark matter, talking about antimatter. You look at places like CERN. I've forgotten what they stand for. I think they're in Switzerland. They're creating these, I can't even describe it, 17-mile-long conductors that smash particles together at the speed of light. Yeah, the hadron. And, you look at it and it's like, who's the first to open it? Tom Hanks. Okay. So Tom Hanks is the same cat who put up the video of the overpass where Isaac Cappy, who was a whistleblower for the pedophilic elite and Hollywood elite, or having, Seth Green, they said, had a room designed to, fucking kill kids. All this dark, crazy nonsense. And I say nonsense, not saying it's nonsense. This dude, Tom Hanks, has been tied in. If you go back and look at Instagram posts, but again, guys, you got to go deep, because you can't just search. You can't just Google this stuff. Everything. Dude, I looked up Hunter Biden's laptop. Excuse my tangential thinking. I looked up Hunter Biden's laptop the other day. This is now something that we know is not Russian disinformation. We know it exists, right? It's been more than confirmed. You look it up, you type it in, no matter what keyword you use, it's going to come up with Washington Post, NY Times, all the top dogs, and what's going to be in it? Disinformation. It's programming, because they'll mention that its previous, misrepresentation as Russian disinformation. By continually mentioning that, they just create that link. So then when you go and talk to some of these NPC motherfuckers who believe everything they read from mainstream media, they're still thinking, oh, isn't that just Russian disinformation? It's like, oh, fuck, do you hear yourself, man?
But this is the thing with it's all just information, right? Like, and that's
why it's a war on information.
It goes back to the perspectives, right? So the only way to find out what identify what the object is you need to look at it from multiple perspectives.
Right.
Now, if you...
That's what a conspiracy theorist is, really.
Yeah.
They're critical thinkers in modern day society.
But if you've only given somebody the perspective to be able to look at it in this 5-degree angle radius, well, you're only getting to see one perspective of what that is.
But it's almost worse than that. It's more insidious because that perspective alone isn't just like you said, where you're doing a circular walk.
Yeah.
It's not. It's they're already giving you the mainstream media and the people behind that when they went and bought up.
Oh, they're trying to also tell you what it is.
They're
telling
giving you
what the
their
object is, and they're giving you 5 degrees to try and look around it.
I'm Jack. You're giving me 50% of your pay cut every year, and everything's all sweet. And hey, have a couple of these shots, and shut your mouth. And then when I want you to explosion over there, it was the bad guys. The Russians blew it up, and that's actually going to cause some supply chain issues. So by the way, inflation's going to go through the roof, and by the way, the middle class will slowly get destroyed. But by the way, we've got a fix for that. Agenda 21.
Yeah. All right, let's pull it back a bit because we went way down. And
that was nothing.
I still got to cover off some of these stories with you. So
the Earth is flat.
So at what point did you decide, hey, I'm going to go do this personal training thing?
Yeah, super early because I was already training my dad. It's who I was. So fitness saved me. I was writing workout plans for myself when I was like 12. Push-ups. I was lifting weights when I was really young. I was skipping days off school and going to the gym when I was really young. And so it just became a natural conclusion that PT is what I'm into. Oh, you can do a job for this. And you know what's great is TAFE was actually awesome back then. Cert 3 and Cert 4 was like 5-6 months a piece.
Yep.
And as someone who went to Sydney Uni for a short amount of time, but I had to do a UPC course, like a uni prep course in English literature to get in, and I got in. And then I was there for all of 2 seconds because it was crazy. I was in the Cumberland campus, City Uni, and it was totally different method of learning. It was all laptops and portals, and the lectures were kind of good, but even just going onto the portal and all this shit, whereas TAFE was simple. It was like you had your anatomy classes, you had your prac classes where you go to the gym, and you learn the movements. Yeah, man, it was great. We had teachers like Chris Bernard and guys like that who were all good, man. And that was back in 2009, 2008, 2007 or something. Yeah, 2008, 2009.
Okay, so then you so you moved out of home at 15, 16?
Yeah, I moved out of home first at 16, then I came back. I remember I stayed at mum's and then I came back at almost when I just turned 18 for like all of 3 weeks, and that was the last time I'd ever stayed in the house because I got kicked out that night because the whole thing happened that night. Before I went to my first bouncing shift, basically, shit just popped off. Yeah.
In what sense? They just thought...
Mum had been drinking. My little sister had a bunch of friends over, and Mum wanted me to drop them all off at their, fucking corresponding houses. And I was already nervous enough, but literally about to leave for my first, bouncing shift. So I was kind of nervous. I didn't know what to expect. Little did I know it was like, hey, who's this sexy guy? It was Oxford Street. It was all good, brother. But man, so I ended up, losing the plot a little bit, and I kicked the basketball at mum and stuff because she basically said, you're out of the house, you're gone. And I'm like, I'm coming back at 2 a.m. I'm coming back at 2 a.m. I'm not gonna have a place to stay. And that just hit me, bro, because that was my entire life. Like you're not coming back.
Yep.
You're not coming back. You're not coming back. And that killed me, bro. So even later on in relationships, I would always leave and I didn't have to. And it was just fucked, bro. I started a whole mental thing. So anyway, I had a blow up and mum started, I remember I grabbed mum by the shoulders and I was like, this, bro. I was like, ah.
No way. That would have been scary for her. That would have been scary for her.
It would have been if she wasn't following me to the grill, G'ing it up more. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not like people hear this shit, and I'm brutally honest, so I'll say it. I don't care how it comes off or whatever, but if I know, and I've always said this, used to say it to my mum and my parents, if there was a fucking reality TV screen in the corner, I'd be happy for that shit to air.
Yeah.
I reckon people would be like, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They wouldn't be like, you're a fucking piece of shit,
well, that's the thing, because they look at you and they go, oh, you're a big boy. And people think that, because you're a big guy, you need to be tough and blah, blah, blah. But inside that big boy is still just the same as what everybody else is made of.
I was an 18-year-old kid. Yeah,
right?
Yeah, for sure. And, bro, it got worse. So I went straight, because mum being mum, I think she was going to get on the fucking phone and call the cops.
Oh, wow.
Classic, bro. She ended up running out there with my protein sups 2 days later going, he's on steroids. And it was my protein sups. My dad told me this, and he was just like, he always used to say you drew the short end of the straw on that one, and he'd cite, mum's disloyalty and stuff. So you can see that it was a real journey of perseverance to always make sure that I maintain my love, because it would have been easy to be resentful.
Yeah, and blame them.
All that shit. Yeah, no, fuck that. But I went straight to the cop shop and I was like, hey guys, just had a spat with my mum, kicked the basketball at her, shook her by the shoulders and then when I saw Georgette was there too, my little sister, she was upset by the whole thing because it just got, ugly. It's not like, don't picture me yelling back either. Picture me trying to, tears running down my eyes, packing my bags. I felt fucking raped, bro. Every time this happened to me, it was violation. And I know she knew that, brother. If I don't have a place to stay, it's no small thing to say, you're not coming back and she's drunk. She's using this position on me, brother. Like a few times I'd be lying in bed and she'd come and sit down on the foot of the bed and she'd one time she pissed the bed. Like when she sat up, there was urine there. And she was just sitting there slurring her words going, yeah, and some shit. And at the time you're burning inside because like you just want to sleep. And I've been waiting for her to come home drunk. And she wasn't even an alcoholic at the time. I think she was just drinking a lot, bro. And she was newly single. So my stepdad had left. So she was obviously, and she'd have boyfriends and stuff. And she told me to leave she's like, I need you out this weekend. Like, I need you gone for the entire weekend. I'm like, I don't have anywhere to go, bro. Yeah. My stepmom, I can't go to stay with my stepmom. My dad would be always flying, going to Germany to drive cars, started reviewing cars and stuff. So I was always being told that, and then she would normalize that, saying, I'm perfectly allowed. I am perfectly entitled to have someone over and just have the house to myself and stuff. But then when I speak to other parents, they'd be like, what are you talking about, bro? Yeah. Like, you're a fucking mother. Like, but because my little sister could go to her stepdad's, I guess she just wanted the free house. So she could, have whatever sex. She wants. Whatever the fuck, bro. But I went to the police station and I go, I just had an argument with this one. Do you know I'm going to go to security shift now? I just wanted to check in, like, in case she calls or whatever. Like, I'm here, like,
Yep.
Bro, they came out 10 deep, fucking arrested me, took me down. Because I was already jacked at this stage. That's what was crazy. And then they described me as like heavily built, highly physically capable, all this shit, and charged me with, I think it was something bullshit, like common assault. It wasn't, there was no assault there. Yep. But this is when I'm 18, bro. So this is like the first introduction to adult life, and I ended up getting a section 10 like dismissed, so I could continue to work in the security industry and then keep doing PT and stuff. But I ended up going on to have a good relationship with her. But this is as dark as it is. Like my dad's always said, mum used to do the whole he's hitting me thing, and he wouldn't be hitting her, like a lot of that kind of stuff. But bro, I felt like a piece of shit for the longest, but for even being in there for an assault on your mum. Because even though on the black and white, it's like, I'd be happy for anyone to see it and then they're not think, oh, this is someone who... My best mate, Keanu, being Keanu, was like, oh, you bashed your mum. You bashed your mum. You're a piece of shit. You're a mother basher. Oh, so bad, bro. So bad. And then later on, flash forward however many fucking years, I'm with this girl who is a Pisces, the exact same as my mum, and is so similar. Mum loves her, of course. And, bro, she was like doing me. She was going to the cops saying I put up pornos of us online, and I never did. Wow. And I had an AVO out on me, but then she'd come over to my house and I'm like, do you understand I'm on a suspended sentence? So if we get done right now, I could just do 2 years, you know? It was fucking cooked, brother. I'm so talking about all this now. I'm like so happy to be here.
You've gotten away from it.
With Johnny Yaps, bro.
Yeah. Okay. I want there's so much to talk about still. Okay. Let's talk about, so when you got done.
Yeah.
Right?
Properly for the coke.
For the coke, yeah.
Yeah. 25, door kicked in, yep.
Yep. So what were you thinking at the time? Like,
bro,
because that's probably the more funny thing than anything else.
The funniest thing I said was, for 10 bags? Because I had because I had full incriminate myself off the rip. I had a deal with my first girlfriend where I'd never deal over 10 bags a week. I'd make whatever it was, that extra $1,000 a week, but I'd never go over 10. Yeah. I wouldn't put myself in the, ockers and getting heavy weight and stuff like that. But then when she left after the suicide attempt and everything, a guy I looked up to massively, who I used to work on the door with, just conveniently, bro, he's heavily under surveillance from the feds, but he conveniently drops off. And I'm saying convenient, like he set me up, but fucking hell, he was probably trying to get rid of the shit. He gives me 4 times the amount. He gives me 40 pre-packed bags.
Oh, wow.
Right? I say yes, because at the time, again, pride, you just, I'll make money.
Yep.
Make some money, because I was crushed, I was crushed. I was living in the apartment, but I was crushed. I was training all the time, but I was, self-esteem was not good. I think I was getting on it more as well. I was, doing stuff. I was always a bit in shape, but I was partying more and stuff like that. And by partying, I mean doing drugs in an apartment. Not out the Ivy or down Oxford Street. Fuck all that. So, bro, when they busted in, the first thing I said was for 10 bags, and then I realized there's fucking like 38 in there, bro. Yeah. And they came in hard, mate. My mate was there and stuff. I'm like, Ricky, you good? Because they were cuffing me and shit. And I'm like, Ricky, you good? And I feel like that annoyed one of them because they want you to be more scared. And this is what I feel intuitively. I wasn't scared enough for them. Yeah. They came in, I'm pretty sure it was a strike force. So I think they had machine guns, bro. And I was like, I thought it was overkill because I heard boom on the door and we're sitting on the couch just like this, Ricky and I. doing coke. And then I hear, doom, and I go, what the fuck? Stand up, boom, get out of the ground. And I was like, for $10? What the fuck? Yeah. Bang, get handcuffed. As soon as I'm handcuffed, one of them just starts teeing off on my eye, bro. He just goes like, bam, 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 stop resisting, bam, like that. And I was like, because I thought he was going to bust my eye on purpose. I thought he was doing, like, I didn't know. I ate the first couple of shots, didn't even say anything. I just assumed, all right, you're going to whoop your ass, you know, which is technically fucking illegal because I'm handcuffed, bro. Like, there was no threat. But then he went crack, crack, crack. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing? And he was like, you were resisting. I go, no, I wasn't, you piece of shit, you know. And then when they stood me up, I was like, you know, talking my shit. Like, you know, you wouldn't have done that stuff without the fucking handcuffs, would you? You know what I mean? Like, I said for some reason, let's go in the bathroom now, one-on-one, you know what I mean? Which kind of sounded more sexual than I meant it to. But then when I looked at me with his blue eyes, bro, he had these cold blue eyes. Not nice blue eyes, just icy blue eyes, bro. Yeah. Like, fuck. It was just, I remember that day, bro. It was a violation. But then, I went back and made bail. What's crazy is I, of course, kept my mouth shut and, still managed to warn my mate that I got done, which he kind of later told me off for, but that enabled him to get rid of a bunch of stuff. And later on, the feds would actually try to charge me with obstructing the course of justice, and they said if I didn't roll over, they were going to hit me with this federal charge. And of course, I didn't, but get this, 2 or 3 of my closest mates, cokeheads at the time, started the rumor that I'd like snitch because, bro, suspended the sentence for that, or not suspended sentence, getting bail for that much, bro, pretty rare, bro. Like, I don't know, man. Like, you did all this fucking horse shit that I found out later, and it's like, oh, so you... like, you were actually talking about me being a dog, like a snitch, when I'm going through this whole court process, and it was just fucking nuts, bro. So you find that out, and it's just like, oh man, this is what I mean. It was always betrayal from all sides when growing up. You know what I mean? It was never like there was never
the trust.
Thank you, bro. Can you put that on? Yeah, there wasn't much loyalty, but I sorted that stuff out in the end. All good. Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
And that hung over me for a minute. So even now, you know, if I had to go to court for slapping someone or something, which I do, that'll be there on the record, you know, counting as a serious charge. But aside from that, I don't have a bad record, you know. Yeah. Just got a bunch of common assaults, which is this, by the way. So
so you went in, they still put you in jail?
Nah, I didn't actually. So I went and got locked up for the night, but I made bail for that. I didn't go to jail until 2 years later, until I was dealing with this girl. So I moved into my dad's house. He'd split from his stepmom. I moved in there. It went south straight away. He did the one thing he promised he wouldn't do, which is break the lease, leave him with no place. So I've left my nice apartment. Yep. Like, we'll train. It'll be good. It'll be healthy. He's just done more drugs than that. We had some crazy nights. I had a mate who was a talent agent, and my girlfriend at the time. And my mate started taking him to task, being like, I don't really appreciate your parenting. And I started sticking up for that, being like, Jai, leave it, man. Fucking, you know, like, I didn't mean to say his name, but I'm like, you know, leave it, man. Like, don't. And he was like, because Jai knew a little bit, bro. And he always kind of had love for me and stuff. And he did some solid things for me, man. You know, created a website for me and a bunch of other stuff, good stuff. And Dad was like wasted. I think he had a few shots or whatever. I don't mean shots of alcohol. And Dad started taking me to task for sticking up for him. And I'm like, bro, don't be taking him to task. Like, leave that shit. And he's like, Jack, leave it. It's fine, and all this stuff. And he was just a broken man at that stage, bro. And then we had this beautiful lab, Archie. And I'm like, where's the dog? And he's like, I've given him away to a friend in fucking Dubbo or some shit. Oh, wow. And he's not coming back. Yeah. And I'm like looking at him. I had an infection at the time. He'd been so hateful for so long. I'd moved out of my apartment. The first weekend we moved into this place together, you know, this is after I've gone through all the shit I've gone through that, you know, you could argue a lot of it came from him. He started like kind of crying about my stepmom or Anne being like, I shouldn't have left her. And I'm like, great. So I'm living with like a mourning fucking broken man who's fucking only really wants me for drugs or whatever. It was cooked. So I ended up leaving then, and then I shouldn't say her name. Live with the girl, doesn't matter. Live with that girl, and then what even happened? What was it? What got me booked? I got institutionalized. I got thrown in Concord Mental Hospital. Because I remember I had a few Xannies or something like that after some kind of party or something, and Xannies were a big mistake, bro. But apparently somewhere along the line, I don't even remember if I believe this, I started talking about offing myself, because I'm one of these guys. If I have benzos, I get detached. I'm not good. Yeah, I don't like any of that stuff. It just makes me depressed. I don't feel my connection to anything. Yeah, so I get very numb. So I might have even mentioned suicide, but basically I don't even know what happened. But somehow I think called mum to say, go be a mum to your son and see if he's okay. Mum instead called the police. So like the entire, so the entire fucking, like, it felt like the entire Newtown police force came out and like surrounded me going, Jack. So, and I'm like, I'm fucking going to get, dead set, I'm going to get orange juice. Like I was chilling. I wasn't, I was going to sleep and stuff. I'm good. You know what I mean? Like if I mention fucking offing myself, it's like I'm a bit of a dry cunt too. I joke, you know what I mean? But I don't know what regard it would have been. I may have been more.
You just were detached,
detached, and probably some cry for help shit. Worst case scenario. Instead, the fucking whole police force come out, and then I ended up getting thrown in Concord Mental Hospital for like a day, and then they doped me up, let me out early due to a computer malfunction, and I'm on all these types of fucking pills and shit. And I go back and I'm like, where's my cash? Where's everything? Where's my stash? And my girlfriend just like, I threw it out. And I'm like, I'd already spoken to her on the phone. I'm like, do not throw any of that stuff out, please. Like that's like my rent money. It's everything. And then she said like, you know, for some reason, I think she meant that she threw the stash out, but she basically said she threw it out. And I was like, I fucking lost the plot and I beat myself up. Jake, you want to see me in pain, hey? You want to see me in pain, hey? Just some shit like that, fan over their head. Yeah, fucked up shit, bro. I've still got a scar here because I've got like a broken bowl. I over my head, then went, like some nuts shit, bro. I was in a lot of pain. And I swear, I don't know if she was getting off on it, brother, but it was not normal reactions, bro. Because every time I've seen myself in a normal functional relationship, like it's just amazing the difference. Like people would say I'm super calm and together, and I am, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think these things that I talk about give me more stability and solidity as a person because I've been through this stuff and I've seen how, you know, like there's nothing that people can do in front of me to make me be like, ugh, fuck off. You know, I've got a lot of love because of these things. But the person I was facing at the time, unfortunately, she wasn't hurt by me doing this. She was like, like the reactions are crazy, like Godzilla and Kong when they yell at each other at the end. And so, then the cops came out again and I'm like, you called the cops? And she's like, well, someone must have. And then they came out and fucking arrested me. And I ended up getting charged with, I think, breaking a phone. So I threw a phone. I thought it was mine or something. She was like, I'm calling the cops again. I'm like, no more fucking cops. Because every time they're going to lock me up and charge me for some shit. I'm going through it. But it was like, I just wanted to be left alone, bro. It's not like I was trying to hurt someone or... Yeah. And then when this person who had been... She'd been breaking into my house to look through my shit. She'd just done so much. So when she finally told me she'd thrown out the stash and the cash or whatever, I was just like, okay, you're here to fucking... You're getting off on this. Like I felt like I've been infiltrated.
You're messing me up. Yeah.
Badly, bro. And but again, accountability and everything. I went and did 4 weeks in like Darcy Pod, Silverwater, Dawn to Lois, which is like Darcy Pod's fucking cooked, mate. It's where all like the head cases go. I think 2 people had off themselves in the 6 months before.
Wow.
Or something like that. Maybe it was 6 months, but it was like one of them ate plastic, one of them hung himself. Like super dark place, especially when you feel like, you know, I haven't gone out and done like my mates like armed robs or some shit like that. I've just been living my life, maybe flipping a few bags here and there, doing some PT and probably, you know, doing drugs that I shouldn't have been doing maybe or something. But it was my own personal shit. It wasn't like I was out here doing any of this stuff. But it's almost like the law was just designed to be this fucking net that you fall back in. So you can't have mental health problems, especially when you're viewed a certain way. Like my mental health problems will look different to someone else's. You know, if you catch a little girl going down the road screaming
with the same thing that going through the same like what you were, it'll be a very different reaction just based on how you look.
Which is why I was never copying it when I heard oh, tell me how hard it is being a straight white male. It's like, fuck out of here. I used to say it to girls at school. It's like, all right, you come and tell me about fucking Aboriginal rights when like down at Mundine's. Come tell me down there. Yeah. Because these people clutch their handbags tighter and fucking cross the road when they see a group of Aborigines or whatever just chilling. Like that's the truth of it, bro. Like these same people who talk it up are the same people who in real life have nothing to offer. You know what I mean? They've got nothing to offer those people, not from empathy or, if anything, it's like this grandstanding thing where they'll sit down with like different people and they'll just be like offering them a sandwich, but it's very grandstanding. Do you need anything else? Yeah. Do you need something?
It's like the whole welcome to country thing. Right,
welcome to country.
You know, like when they do like formal events and people do like this welcome to country and we acknowledge blah blah blah.
Oh, we acknowledge the Gulangao people.
And it was one of those things. Like I was talking to this Koori bloke and I go, "What do you think about this?" And he goes, "Well, really, like the only people that are supposed to do welcome to country are the elders." Yeah. Right. And you know,
people who own the country.
Yeah, like you know, so it's a bit tokenistic that we go and do this whole acknowledgement thing when, you know, really what you're supposed to have is one of the elders come out and actually do a proper acknowledgement.
Facts. Change the flag if you want to be a G.
Yeah, like it's so, you know, I just felt like, you know, it's one of those things. It's virtue signaling, right? Like you're just trying to make a point of it. But anyway, I want to go back to obviously, you know, What was your mindset when you first walked into Silverwater? Was it like, I'm just curious about how you felt about it. Obviously, you'd be pretty dirty about the whole thing, right?
Oh fuck! I was more just crushed. I always said this. I was too crushed personally to be like worried about like some kind, causing problems. Because I think that's the fears that most people have. Whereas I didn't have those fears because I've just got like a confidence in like the way, for whatever reason, something happened where I've just been able to like get through to people on a level where I can surpass a lot of the, like sizing them up and stuff. You know what I mean? Like you literally using the feeling of love and affection first and foremost.
Yeah.
And then if it goes south from there, I'm able to draw on something quite powerful because it's like, I know my intentions were good.
Yep.
So if you fuck with me further,
yep,
it's like, I look at you like,
yeah,
whatever, you know what I mean? Like it's different. And I'm not fearful because I'm not like, I'm not moving that way. You live by the sword, die by the sword kind of thing. So I guess if you don't put that energy out there, it doesn't come back in that way, So I felt comfortable in that regard, but I was obviously fucking devastated, bro, because I couldn't believe that I'd wound up in there. I was in Surrey Hills. I think it's MRRC or something like that. Surrey Hills are the worst ones. I was like pulling over bins trying to get cross out of the bin because they'd only feed us like one sandwich. They wouldn't tell people where we were. There's a place in Surrey Hills in like near Riley Street. I was just there yesterday working at that fashion gig. Surrey Hills, like right near Oxford Street.
Yeah.
There's cells there. They're the worst. Like they're fucking terrible, man. And the treatment there is just nuts. Like the way some of those workers are, it's just like, oh man, you lose your
humanity.
Yeah, and
like
those
they
dudes,
treat you like that you're not human.
Yeah, yeah, it's bad. I remember I spoke to one of the guys and he was actually okay in jail. He's like, you don't seem to fit in here very well. One of the female CEOs like asked me for workout advice and stuff because I think they could almost tell like I didn't. Not that you're too good for this place, but it's a mentality too. Because I really believe like some of my people who I love and stuff, they kind of wanted that. They manifested that shit because they wanted probably the body of work.
Yeah,
it comes home and says, I did 4 years and fucking I was the man or whatever. But yeah, I didn't give a fuck about that because I know that doesn't pay, and I don't have a family's house that I can fall back on when I come out of jail. There's nowhere to go, bro. So it's like you can't fuck around, man.
Yeah, you can't afford to keep restarting.
Nah, not at all. Which is why it's a shame. I slapped this dude at work who was like approaching me, going, "What? Want to do it?" And I went, "Bink," slapped him, and then the cops just jumped out and like they charged me with aggravated assault, occasioning actual bodily harm. The police prosecutor seemed surprised that I went not guilty for the ABH. It's like, oh well, if it's going to go not guilty, we'll serve the brief on July 15. It's like, what did you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, crazy. A slap.
Is there any footage of it?
Yeah, and apparently they conferred with the CCTV footage, and as I said to the judge, if they'd really done so, surely they would have seen that I've slapped this person, and then I've warded the next one off because his mates have kind of come to me like, what the fuck, and I've gone back up, bro, and I've swiped at one of them, and apparently my fingernail has caused a small abrasion on his nose. But if you read the report, it goes with a closed fist, he hit him on the nose, resulting in a small scratch, and I'm thinking like, is that? But they make it just hard enough so you have to get representation and put money into the system. Yeah. If they had a charge of common assault, I would have gone, yeah, okay, fine. I guess I did slap him. Sure, I'll go guilty for that. Even though,
so they make it harder for you, so then you got to argue the case.
Yeah, and potentially, because I represented myself, I've done it a few times. I've got cases thrown out doing that. That one that I got locked up for ended up being dismissed because I represented myself finally. But yeah, it's not always advisable because sometimes they take it as a bit of an insult. But when you got the advantage of telling the truth, you got a bit more balls, I think. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's switch gears a bit because this is another thing that we got to talk about.
Turn into the felon podcast.
No, it's not about that. But so when we were also talking, we started talking about Shang Chi.
Yeah.
And I was fucking blown away because like Jack started saying to me, "Oh yeah, I was on set too," and you were Florian's stand-in.
Yeah, Flo, that's right. His name was Flo, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess tell me what your experience was like on set.
Man, it was good. I mean, my mate described me as like a fucking caged panther, and they had to keep feeding him because I just got to go, where's Jack? Where is Jack gone? I'd just walk around in between the catering things, just, steaks and all types of good food. But it was good experience, man. I mean, aside from not getting credited from what I can see, and stuff like that, it was good. How many days were you in there for?
I was only there for 2 because I was literally the 2 days that I was.
You knocked back that stuff, eh?
I knocked back a few, and then But the other thing was that so the scene I was involved with was the Fight Club scene. And literally,
that was one of my main ones too.
And then literally what happened was like we came on set to film, and then the first day, it was when they were worried that Destin had COVID. Yeah. So they basically said, okay, we're gonna we were all dressed and everything, about to go on set, and then they said, oh, we're gonna have to shut up for today.
Were you one of the fighters?
No. So I was just one of the bodyguards. So one of the bouncers.
Oh, okay.
So but you can't even really see us. They didn't really do anything with us. They didn't use any of the footage.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Same. I was getting slammed and fucking they didn't use any of that shit, bro. I was getting fucked up in a metal container.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Because I was in two different things. I was on that one too. That set, that big set with the cage in the middle. Yeah. Crazy, bro.
Yeah. So the first day that we were there, we'd all gotten dressed, we were all ready to go on set, and then they shut down production because of the COVID scare. Then the next day we came back, we did like a 16-hour day, and
big day.
And then basically they said, "Oh, look, we're gonna have to pause production because of COVID."
Yeah. And you get paid for those days though, right? You get paid for the one before as well.
Yeah, got paid for both days.
Yeah.
But then and then basically there was this long break, and then then they. I don't know what happened in between that, but I think they obviously, worked out what they wanted to do with that.
That was the first break. That was when I was hitting up accounts like, where's our fucking money?
Yeah.
And then we went back to work and I think we finished it all. But maybe they scrapped the bouncing scene or something. Shot.
Because if you look in the actual movie, like how much of it did they use? Yeah. They literally used.
I didn't even see the movie.
I haven't seen it?
No.
Okay. Well, but
I wasn't credited. I'm like, fuck y'all.
Well, essentially, like that whole scene, even though we spent 16 hours of the day there, turned into like not even 20 seconds.
Doesn't mean anything. Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's still good living though because it's good money cruising around on set. Food. Especially if you're working with your people, amazing. But I may have missed the boat in that regard. That was probably my first chance to kind of ingratiate myself with those people. Funnily enough, I just saw Ken. His name's Ken. He's the bald fella. I think he was like a 1 or 2 AD.
Okay.
Assistant director. Yep. And I saw him doing Kung Fu. He was right at this fashion gig in Surrey Hills, but he was from Shang Chi. I didn't recognize him at first. And I'm like, oh, hold up. And he was like, yeah, you were whatever the fuck. But it was a good experience, bro. I tell you what wasn't a good experience. Getting up at 4 and having to get this massive fucking beard glued to your face. Yeah. And I think I had to get a hairpiece too, bro. Yeah, because they look more like Florian. Yeah, because they told me, I didn't even know, but they told me to try to grow out my hair and beard, and so I rocked up fully clean shaven with like 3 days stubble on top of my head. So I was fucked. Shit. They had to shave my head all over again and put a full hairpiece and beard on and that. Yeah, which actually looked alright. I could probably rock that hairpiece more often. I'd probably kill shit. I'm having sex and she just pulls on it. Shunk. Yeah. Oh fuck. But it was a good experience, bro. That bus scene, man. I'm telling you, that was like 90% me. Yeah. That bus was like, people think it was shot in San Fran, right? Yeah, no, crazy. 30, 40 feet in the air on a bus, just harnessed in, just sitting up there chilling for ages. Yeah, so much idle time on those sets, hey? Yeah. I wish I could do more acting, bro. I do love it. Even this stuff, all of it. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, but I don't know, I fear that those times may be done. I feel like Hollywood's dying, brother. Everything's become so formulaic and I look at everything differently now. Yeah. I feel like as when you look at the industry, there's not really much that moves the needle anymore. No, because it's so fucking badly written. Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's pieces that are still good, but I mean, let's look at all the mainstream stuff. It's so bad. If you look at, I don't know if you've seen them before, not Comic Story, and there's some different cats. Oh, The Critical Drinker. He's a Scottish guy. He does these really good reviews. Okay. The Critical Drinker. And he just kind of, he just exposes a lot of it. I don't even watch stuff anymore. Maybe this is just old age, but I used to always, big Godzilla fan. I don't know if you saw the most recent. I didn't know. Man, I think they're pretty well done. They could have been amazing. Like, there's something epic about big kaiju films, you know? But, yeah, man, I don't know. I love film, but... What about theatre? I don't know, dog. Probably better off doing theatre. I reckon, yeah, because I feel like there's something different about... Way different. About theatre, you know, like the engagement with the audience, the connection. Very similar to fighting. Yeah, because like the crowd, every performance is going to be slightly different. Yeah, and so how you try and establish that connection with the crowd, there's an art form to doing that as well. Definitely. There were days where I fucked up and like I had a scene where Jess Tovey, who was the home and away star, she played my sister. I think it was Jill, and I played Pip in something called Seven Little Australians. Okay. And there's a scene where I got to basically slide out, and I see her dead on a door. And I'm no, Jill, no. Full breakdown the whole night. And I used to walk around in the back streets in Newtown, and I'd just be chilling half the time. I see a mate and be like, oh, I'm about to go on stage. Oh yeah, doing, bro. And I go up there, and more often than not, I connect. But I remember one time, Elaine Hudson, who was a really, really good director, film director. And she gave me a book of Marlon Brando as one of her favorite actors at the end of the thing, which, you know, Mum told me at the time was a big compliment. So I took it as a nice thing. But she ripped me, bro. She was like, you fucking baseball slid out there and there was no connection. There was nothing. And I just felt ashamed of myself, bro. Like it was It was really, I remember that day, but it was really good for me too. So more often than not, I go and find it. So at a young age, I'm having to find that emotion and come out there, and I would feel it, you know. I wouldn't necessarily be a method actor at the time, but I really believe that my existence, it's sad, but I feel like my existence would be perfect for a career in acting because I've had such a gambit of emotions, times when I've been suicidal, almost killed, the fear of thinking I'm going to die. Fuck yeah, man. I've got it all there on deck, you know. So it'd be great to utilize it one day. And the thing is, as an actor, you can crack it in your 40s, 50s.
Yeah.
There's no rush. There's no, if anything, a lot of the greats, they were doing all these different gigs, and I didn't know that. I was listening to I've forgotten what director it was, but he was a bust. I think Oliver Stone, who was recently on JRE, he had all these different gigs, and it was like, that's fucking amazing to listen to. And nowadays we don't hear that too much. We hear guys who've, you know, they left school, went to uni, did their bachelor's, and they went into this profession. And it's like, oh, that's why you're fucking boring, bro. I don't mean to be a dickhead, but I mean, like, it's like that's insanely boring. Yeah. Like I don't know. To me, I kind of prefer salt of the earth people. I get better conversations with some of the homeless people, and I'm not trying to say this for dramatic effect. Even when I was young, we'd do drink ups in the park. I'd always cruise off by myself and camp it down, and there'd be like a lonely homeless person or whatever, you know, chilling, maybe swigging on something, and I go sit next to him, kind of thing. You know, that camaraderie, you get, have a few swigs of wine, and you're like, hey, brother. Yeah. But man, some of the conversations
has such interesting stories. You know how they ended up there.
Oh, dude, it disturbs me how some of them are so intelligent. I always see myself in them. I saw one last night. He was in the Central Tunnel when I was walking back from Surrey Hills after that gig, and he was just chilling in one of the tunnels right before Central. And I'm like, how are you, brother? Staying warm? And he's like, yeah. And bro, he's just there. All his belongings are there, and it's like there is nothing protecting me or us, for me, from that. You know what I mean? And I've got a feeling in the back of my head that I probably will be that. And that sounds crazy, but I genuinely have and there's a level of acceptance there too, because of the way things are going, that there's a good chance that I might be one of those guys in a tent one day, and I plan to be spiritually full enough to be able to handle that. Because without spiritualism, without being able to raise above the body and have something else above all of this, and understanding that this is all material, as the Buddha says, this is all impermanent. These are all impermanent things. And the Bible and the Buddha both came to similar conclusions, although the Buddha wasn't too big on the soul. He believed that even looking for, I'm probably telling you about some shit you know more than me on, but he wasn't even particularly big on the soul, because he believed that by looking for, you lost your state of ultimate awareness by searching for something in the metaphysical realm that may or may not.
It's about presence.
Yeah, all about presence. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to build now. I was reading a book on Buddha, actually. I think it's over there. It was like Buddha for Dummies. Yeah. But it was interesting stuff, brother.
Shit. All right. Well, we already cracked a couple of hours.
Ah, sick, bro.
All right.
Awesome.
So we got some other shit we're going to do today. So let's just tie it up here. Unless you got anything else that you want to talk about?
That's it, bro. Shout out to MMA FFT.
Yep.
Coach Renato, the gang, and Johnny Yap.
All right, thanks everyone. Oh, if people want to find you, how do they find you? Or obviously,
Panther Jack Health. It'll probably be deleted soon too. Yeah. Nah, I'm not posting too much stuff on there.
Yeah. What did you get deleted for in the first place?
Oh, you want to get into it, Harry? Now, you want to get censored now, brother?
All right, all good. Let's see you all. Bye.
Later, y'all.